Sammy Long for the last couple of weeks has been kind enough to stick around for a couple of hours. He's going to be with us today from 2 to 3. So if you're just listening to the Fletch Zone, you're going to hear more of Sammy coming up over the next hour. Sammy, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for hopping by.
Of course, dude. How was the weekend?
It's so funny. Whenever someone asks me that, I'm always like, how was the weekend? Like, that's always my initial reaction. Like, how was the weekend? You know what? It was good. And we'll get into San Diego State. Aztecs, kind of surging right now. 7-0 beat New Mexico. Obviously, the NFL playoffs, we're going to get into the highs and lows. I can't imagine Brent right now after that Bears game. And then there's last night. I actually want to start. I can tie Indiana last night. This is an incredible game. It was an
unbelievable national championship.
So I'm going to tie Indiana to, if Indiana can do what they did, can't the Padres?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically where I started because, the odds of Indiana, I'm sure you saw some of the videos, Sammy, from like Indiana football 2023 when they play in front of like 11,000 people. Indiana's opener in 2024, I think like August 30th or 31st, and they played, I don't know who they played, Akron or Kent State or some FCS. And I think it was before the game actually started, but there were like photos from that game where there's like 4,000 people there. It's Kurt Cignetti's.
Right, it's a basketball school.
Yeah. And for them to do what they've done, and that's a credit to Kurt Cignetti, Indiana. I don't even know how this happened. I mean, it's one of the more remarkable sports stories. But I mean, think about where Indiana was 2 days ago. And think about it from their seat. It's like, we can't do it. We're in the same conference with Ohio State. How do we overcome Michigan? How do we compete with the likes of Penn State, Oregon? This is just in our conference. Forget about nationally. Getting to a 12-team playoff, are you kidding? Try getting to 5th place in our league with the Oregons and the Ohio States and the Michigans, right? And 2 years later, perfect storm, truly like a 1 in a million. They've won a national championship. Padres against all odds with the Dodgers in their division. Dodgers have won the last 2 World Series. Obviously, the Dodgers have more resources than San Diego. I'm telling you right now, if Indiana can win a national championship in my lifetime, there will be a day the San Diego Padres win a World Series. But I mean, the Indiana thing last night was truly incredible. I thought Miami was going to win the game. I thought when they got the ball back with the minute 50, they were going to win the game. And credit to Indiana for getting that stop, because that's just one of the more unbelievable stories in the history of sports, is for IU to win a football national championship.
Right. And that's what has been the critique of college football for a long time, is you look at the regular season ratings are through the roof, and people are watching. Hell, we go down Snapchat and we know the Aztecs are a big deal. Like there's a lot of college football fans around the country, and then we go to the playoff and it'd be some collection of Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma. And I think people would lose interest a little bit unless you went to one of those schools or you were a diehard SEC fan or Ohio State fan. To have 8 blue chip recruits. That's what Indiana had, 8 blue chippers, and the rest just came from James Madison with Cignetti 2 years ago. That's why I think people love college basketball, is that you have seen the small schools, the St. Peters, who have 1 or 2 guys, and you go on these runs. It was never thought of in football that you could achieve something like that. To your point, in the division, I wonder how this affects college football going forward. Is I think everyone now thinks, hey, we got a shot. Like
we're the next Indiana,
right? Like we aren't just going to be we don't have the resources that Ohio State does, so we really don't have a shot. I think there's like 20 teams next year you could look at that could really win the whole thing. And then with the Padre comparison, I love that one, because you would compare the Dodgers to Ohio State. You would compare the Dodgers to Michigan, Penn State. The resources they have. You would never dream in a million years that Indiana could even remotely compete with that, but yet they did. And it goes to show that if the Padres can make some tweaks, and they've been close, they've beaten the Dodgers. We've talked about this, for years now, but it's just like, how do they take the Indiana step? How do they go from losing to Notre Dame last year, which is a lot like the Padres have done, going out in the first round, to winning a natty against a former blue blood program in Miami?
Well, I think sometimes we get I'm the first to do it. Listen, I'm going to see the Dodgers go out and make the moves that they make and say, wow, how do you compete? But then you get to the actual field of play and you realize that any one move isn't the difference in winning or not winning a World Series. There's no such thing as a move that wins you the World Series. Right. You know what I mean? It's so much more than, well, they went out and got Roki Sasaki, or they go out and get Kyle Tucker. It's not like Kyle Tucker's guaranteed to be batting with the World Series on the line in 2026. Now, can he help you get where you want to go? Of course. But it's the unpredictability of baseball and other sports. Football is the same way. That is the separator. So it's like if you're an Indiana fan, you're like, hold on, we're getting 3-star recruits, and Ohio State's getting 5-star recruits. But here's the thing: all of that is subjective. All of that is leading you down a path of what happens in an offseason on paper. When you get on the field, what is the difference? And I'll tell you what the difference was for Indiana, for example. They went 15 consecutive games without fumbling. It's never happened in the history of the sport. So I don't care if you have 6-star recruits.
Right, you don't fumble the football.
If you don't fumble the football, you're gonna have a really good chance to win. If you've got one of the more clutch players in the history of the sport and their quarterback in Mendoza, and then you pair it with a defense that was, just opportunistic, basically. So, my comp again with San Diego is like, okay, on paper, you might not have the most gifted roster. You may not have the same resources as LA, but what is it going to take to put the whole thing together? Does it start with AJ Preller? Well, he's had 10 or 11 chances. We'll see. Does it start with Craig Stammen? Is it all of a sudden and we'll get into this, you add some veteran starter late before the start of the year, like they did last year, Nick Pivetta. Pivetta leads you to the postseason, then, goes on a run in the postseason. So, there's no one answer, and it's not going to be easy. I'm just telling you that there's no way going into this year it was going to be easy for Indiana either. They made the playoffs the year before. It was a dream season. Everyone said, oh, cute little Indiana. That's the last we're going to hear of you. And they double down and they dominate their way to a national championship. And I'm not saying the Padres are going to do that. I'm just saying that in sports, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. And that's why I have faith heading into 2026.
Well, and Indiana won last night because they won on the margins.
Yeah, exactly.
Miami.
Special teams.
Right. Like Miami, Signetti was unbelievable. 2 4th and 5s in the fourth quarter. You go for it. I was sitting there going like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Kick the ball. What are you doing? It's not like Beck and the offense has been phenomenal. They block the punt. They get that in there. They see that Charlie Becker on the outside is exposing Miami corners, and they were able to hold up against Bain and Messidor. How do you beat teams just more talented than you? The Dodgers are more talented than the Padres. The Dodgers are more talented than anyone in baseball, but you win on the margins. You do the little things that the coaching staff will see with Craig Stammen, completely new, kind of a wild card. It's tough to say if it's a great hire, if it's a terrible hire. We don't really have much data in on that. But how do you win? And the Padres, to their credit, I think have done a good job at, especially AJ Preller. Look at last year's trade deadline. I remember going and having Kevin Acee on a week or two before going, yeah, we'll see if they can even make a move because I don't even know if they have the resources. Turning into 2 weeks later, they were this kind of sexy upset pick to go to the World Series because they were able to acquire your Freddie Fermins, your Mason Millers, your O'Hearns, you go down the list. So if the Padres can win on the margins, they give you a shot. Winning on the margins got them to game 4 against the Dodgers. They just weren't able to close the show. The difference is, can they close the show moving forward, and what pushes them into the Indiana level of actually closing the show?
Yeah, I guess I come away from last night, and Indiana was the favorite. Make no mistake, this isn't some little engine that could by the time we got to the postseason. They were the number 1 seed in this event. But I watch how this plays out, and I think to myself, you know what? This to me is good in general for those that hope their team one day does something special that they never thought was possible. Like before the Golden State Warrior run of the last 10 years, they were the lowly Warriors.
They're one of the worst franchises in the league.
Before the Chiefs had Mahomes, they had won how many postseason games in the prior 25 years? One.
They had one since the early 90s.
So it's like there's always a before and after is my point. And there's other examples of this more recently as well. I mean, there's countless examples in sports where someone does something you would never expect them to be able to do. And I don't know if that's necessarily where the Padres are heading into the year, but it's what I like about sports. What I like about sports is it is somewhat unpredictable. Now, of course, you can still have teams like the Dodgers. You still have evil empires. You still have teams that win at high levels, that have resources that are hard to get through. That's across all sports. Indiana winning doesn't make Ohio State not good next year.
No.
Ohio State's likely to be favored over Indiana, for example, next year. It's just, I like coming out of a season and being like, you know what, that was somewhat refreshing that something happened that we didn't necessarily predict was going to happen.
Well, it's to that point about sports, that's why we love to watch it. Like I'm a massive fight fan. And for those who love boxing, Alvarez fought Terrence Crawford last year, and that's always been in sports. People didn't take it seriously. He's moving up 2 weight class. There's no way he's going to be able to take the punching power And he did, because he was that level of elite fighter. And now it's opening doors for fighters in both boxing and UFC going, well, wait, if he moves up 2 weight classes, I can move up 2 weight classes.
Right.
For college football, you go to Indiana, you're now, Charlie Becker was the perfect example last night, the receiver who made all the plays at the end of the game. They talked about on the broadcast, he could have transferred. All 6 receivers entered the transfer portal when Cignetti got there, and he chose to stay. And look, he just won a national championship. So you wondered, there's San Diego States, your schools that there's always kind of been if they get into is this a waste of a playoff game? Are they going to get beat by 40 or 50? All these schools that barely get in. And I think the last 2 years in terms of college football, look, Arizona State was fantastic. I think Boise State in that Penn State game acquitted themselves well. Now all of a sudden you have Indiana and Ole Miss this year with no head coach. Indiana wins a national championship. All these smaller schools, and if you equate it to Major League Baseball, basically everyone else that's playing against the Dodgers in the NL West, I think there's some belief that you can go in there and you really don't know what's going to happen because you haven't seen it before, but we obviously saw it this year in college football.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go back that far to be a Padre fan that would be like hopeless. I mean, the last era you've had hope. I think in this AJ Preller, Peter Seidler run, and it's somewhat short lived, but this decade you've had hope. I mean, you go into postseasons thinking you can make a run, or you're expecting to get to the postseason. You go back a generation, or even less, a half generation. You go back to the mid 2000s through the mid 2010s. There wasn't a lot of hope, right? It was a little bit like Indiana football. It's like, it's my alma mater.
Getting to the postseason was a big accomplishment.
That was almost the pipe dream. And it was like, hey, why? It's the little Padres. We go to Petco. It's a great experience. Love the ballpark. But do I expect them to be competing with the Giants who won 3 World Series in the 2010s, or the Dodgers who have won 3 World Series in the 2020s? Back then, going back 15 years, you're like, no, we're not going to compete. This was in Indiana football. I looked it up last night. They're 13-81 all time against Ohio State. They're 3-28 all time against Penn State. They had no hope. And all of a sudden you have hope. And I guess that's my point with the Padres, that it's no longer hopeless.
Right.
You have hope. Now there's still a long way to go from hope to actually getting the job done. But trust me, after watching what happened last night, trust me, the Padres at some point will break through. And I don't know if it's going to be 2026 or not, but a year is coming where the Padres are going to break through.
Well, I think that's why the last 3 years have been frustrating for Padre fans, because people will go, oh, the media is hard on the team. They're relevant. They're in the postseason. They're a perennial player. But because after 2022, when they finally beat the Dodgers in something that no one predicted that series would end in 4 games and the Padres would be coming out on top, the expectations reset. It wasn't just, hey, oh my God, it's cool the Padres are in the playoffs, or, oh, they competed against the Dodgers. They went and beat the Dodgers. So in 2023, the failure of not making the postseason, and then the last couple of years of really having the Dodgers on the ropes and then not really showing up against the Cubs, I think it hurts more because the expectations are different in that they have went from Indiana to trying to be something else, and they haven't broken through to the Indiana level, which Indiana did last night.
Right. So they've gone from Indiana to Indiana without doing what Indiana did.
Right.
But they've gone from the initial Indiana to take that next step. Can they take the last step? All right. The Padres are being linked to a lot of starting pitchers and other players as well that we're going to get to on the other side. Plus, Will Brinson, NFL Insider, CBS Sports, on the wackiness of this past weekend and championship weekend coming up on Sunday as well. Plus, Kevin Vance, San Diego State Baseball's first-year head coach, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. And we have Aztec basketball tickets to give away for the next time San Diego State is home. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, we all remember that one teacher who made a difference, who believed in us, challenged us, or just made learning fun. And now's your chance to say thank you to Big Way with iHeartRadio's Thank You Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. Nominate an outstanding public school teacher who's gone above and beyond for their students to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Today's teacher of the day, this is a challenging name. I do play-by-play, though. Geneva Holtness. Okay. Teaches at Heritage Elementary.
Shout out to Geneva.
Yeah. She's a second grade teacher who loves her kids and always gives 100%. Congratulations to Geneva. You're in the running to win $5,000 to make over your classroom. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. That's iHeartRadio.com/teachers. John Schaefer, Sammy Long. We will get into this past weekend in the NFL and look ahead as well. In addition, Will Brinson's on the show at 4:30. We'll get into the Aztecs as well, who are 7-0 right now in the Mountain West and all of a sudden appearing on brackets about 2 months, a little less than that now, from Selection Sunday. There were a couple of things I wanted to get to that popped up over the last 24 hours, Padres related. By the way, I just got the release. Their truck leaves for Peoria Thursday. The first full squad workout is February 15th. So we're like a couple weeks away. I think pitchers and catchers report, obviously, a couple of days before that. So we're just a couple of weeks away. But this is what was reported earlier today in The Athletic, that the Padres are seeking free agent starters that could fall in the preferred range of $8 to $12 million per year. And three names on that list would be Nick Martinez, the former Padres starter, like a little bit of an everything guy for the Padres, reliever and starter. Then Lucas Giolito, veteran starter, Justin Verlander. I mean, there's no more veteran starter than Justin Verlander. They've been linked to a couple of other names. Freddie Peralta with the Brewers. I'll believe it when I see it. But specifically Martinez, Giolito, and Verlander as the Padres maybe hone in approaching spring training, Sammy. Again, not with the budget of a team like LA or others, but recognizing that they need starting pitching. And here's a couple of veterans that might be available.
Verlander cannot be an option because at his age, Verlander is used for a team that has a stacked rotation that you want to teach young pitchers and can come in a big moment and do it. You need guys who can eat bulk innings because, I mean, you need depth. And I don't know if Verlander at his age, you can just be throwing him out there for most of the season. Giolito's interesting. He obviously has been every trade deadline the last few years, kind of a hot name that could certainly be something. And with Martinez and Giolito, not that either of those guys are world beaters, but them at the 4th spot of a rotation, that's pretty solid. Like I'd take that over Randy Vasquez. No disrespect to Randy Vasquez, but there are some names here. I don't see the Verlander signing. If you're going to have that money, if that money's open, and to your point, it's great that they're even talking about this. If this report is legit, that they're even in the market, because a lot of times with the Padres, it's very hush hush. It's very, are they even looking for starting pitching? Do they recognize the need there? I'd be fine with any of those guys. I don't know that Verlander is a guy who's going to eat bulk innings at this age. I would spend my money elsewhere.
I agree with that. Listen, Justin Verlander's resume speaks for itself, but what are you really getting? Now, are you getting something that is impactful in your clubhouse? Absolutely. Could he pitch meaningful innings for you in September or October if he's healthy? Absolutely. Is he trustworthy? Yes. Right? He's pitched in huge games throughout the course of his career. He's won multiple Cy Young awards. But guess what? He turns 43 in February. He's thrown over 3,500 career innings, and he's actually coming off a year in which he was quote unquote healthy and threw 152 innings with the Giants, which is, again, you're not getting more than that. That to me seems like lightning in a bottle that he gave you 152 innings. So my assumption is like, okay, here's a guy that's going to give you, let's say, 125 innings. I'm with you. I think I would prefer the upside potential of a younger pitcher. Like Lucas Giolito's 31 and last year at a 3.41 ERA. Now he threw a similar number of innings, but he's 31. And then you have Nick Martinez. Now you've seen what he can do. He threw 165 innings last year. His ERA was high. It was 4.45, but here's also a guy that doesn't have near the innings on his arm. How many? He's thrown less than 1,000 innings. There's 35, but he's thrown less than 1,000 innings. So I kind of like the old friend Nick Martinez. I like the upside of Lucas Giolito. I just think Verlander, it's an amazing name, but it's Michael Jordan with the Wizards.
Exactly. It gets you on SportsCenter. Yep. You sign him. They're going to be talking about it every time he pitches. They're going to
Justin Verlander.
It's Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
But we're all hoping that Joe Musgrove, coming off an injury, can return to Joe Musgrove form. But that is a question mark. Like, we're all going to be honest here. This is why I think that, King coming back was such a big signing, because Musgrove is a 3 versus a number 2 starter, where a guy coming off a serious injury, you don't want him throwing bulk innings. Adding another guy in who now is 43 and has dealt with a rash of injuries in his career, I don't see that helping whatsoever. Now, if you were going to get, let's say in a hypothetical world, the Padres had a legit budget, you were like, we're going to get Giolito, and then we're going to throw Verlander to be our 5th starter and try something. Of course, because he has that pedigree and he could help you out at times. But unless it's like 2 weeks out from the playoffs and Verlander's somehow a free agent, which he won't be, and he can just help you, I don't see that helping you out over an extremely long 162 game season.
I mean, it's amazing how he's held up. Like, he missed all of 2021, right? And I forget the exact injury, whatever, coming off an arm.
People thought he would retire.
Yeah, exactly. He came back and won a Cy Young as a 39-year-old. Okay, so that's amazing. But the issue always is father time. I mean, that was 2022. That's now 4 years removed. Now, since 2022, in 3 seasons, he's thrown 400 innings. It's only 130 a year, and his ERA is 4. So again, nobody would expect you to be getting, the 30-year-old Justin Verlander, prime Justin Verlander. But I'm not a big fan of like going after a name because you're expecting the name to be the name. Like, what does that really mean? I mean, we're in the business of productivity. If it's the Dodgers, sure. Maybe he can do something for you.
You can put him on the shelf throughout the year.
You don't need him throughout the course of the year. To your point, you need someone to make 30 starts for you and to be reliable. And I just don't know if that's a good way to spend money or not. I would guess no.
I would say no. At least they're looking at starting pitching, because I hope that when the Michael King signing came down, it was fantastic, but you need someone else besides the top 3. And again, only Joe Musgrove knows what he can be. And ideally, Joe Musgrove, you're kind of doing what the Dodgers did last year. Remember when Blake Snell had magical injuries and Tyler Glasnow was injured for a large portion of the summer, and they come back and are really effective for the postseason? Ideally, that's what you would look for with Joe Musgrove, to kind of be your hidden ace card that's being pulled out of the deck in later on in the season.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we can touch on that over the course of the next few hours. I do want to get to the NFL postseason, the highs and lows of this past weekend, including, once again, we're seeking a definition for a catch in football. These were monumental moments, obviously, over the course of the weekend. We're down to a final 4. We'll react to that on the other side. Will Brinson will have more as well coming up at 4:30. John Schaefer and Sammy Long with you on San Diego Sports 760.
The support is sponsored by Capital One. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow night to take on Grand Canyon. Pregame starts at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Golden State Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has torn his ACL and he will be out for the rest of the season. Last night, Indiana defeated Miami 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it in 1894. And we have Lakers basketball tonight on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on the Nuggets. Tip is at 7 o'clock.
Capital One is a founding partner of iHeart Women's Sports Network. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase with the Capital One Venture X Business Card. Big purchasing power means you can spend more and earn more. The Capital One Venture X Business Card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
All right, Will Brinson will join us at 4:30. We have Aztec tickets for their next home game. That's against Colorado State. And that is, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, January 28th. Is that on the rundown?
Yes.
That's correct. So you don't even need to correct me. So San Diego State, Colorado State is January 28th. What's today? The 20th. So it's a week from tomorrow. A week from tomorrow, all the days run into each other. A week from tomorrow, San Diego State, Colorado State at Viejas at 7:30. So perfect start time. We have 2 free tickets. We'll give those away, let's say, in the 3 o'clock hour. We're going to give away. Do we have 1 pair of tickets? 1 pair of tickets, San Diego State, Colorado State, that we'll give away, again, coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. We're going to hear from Brian Dutcher coming up in about 15 minutes. San Diego State is a massive week. They've taken advantage of these opportunities here in conference. They're 7-0, but they've got a challenging but opportunistic week in front of them beginning tomorrow night in Phoenix against Grand Canyon. I will be there for the call of that one. All right, before we get to San Diego State, I mean, we have to start with Brent. I have not heard, I have no idea how Brent is doing. I watched this all play out live. Only the final Brent, I don't know, 4th quarter and overtime I watched live. The amazing throw. Just unbelievable throw that ties the score for Chicago. Then the Bears have the ball after forcing a Rams punt and are driving. At that point, we have to all be feeling pretty good about the Bears' chances of winning the game. Caleb throws, I think, a bad interception in that spot. Didn't seem like a good one. And then the Rams, the rest of the story is how the game finished. But Brent, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I was fine with it the way it went down, really. Is one of those things where when the season started, all the quote experts said we weren't supposed to win any more than 8 games this year. And, we won the division. We had the 2nd seed in the NFC. We beat Green Bay twice. We were a first down away from a field goal attempt that would have sent us to the NFC Championship game. So, as far as Caleb Williams interceptions, he had another 4th down interception, which, like I said, the last game, I don't count those because it's, throw it away or you get sacked. So it's, I don't really worry about that. The other ones are more miscommunication interceptions, and those don't bug me as much as if this would have been like a Brett Favre or like a gunslinger situation where he forced it into triple coverage and just trying to squeeze it in there, then I'd be more pissed off about it. But we weren't supposed to win the game and we still almost won. And honestly, he's only going to get better, for as good. And anyone that listens to the show regularly knows that I have been like the biggest, not necessarily fan of Caleb Williams, but I've been like one of his harshest critics. I didn't even want them to draft him. He finally now, in my opinion, looks like someone that should have been the number 1 overall pick. Last year, he didn't really see it. You kind of see flashes of it, but he would miss way too many open throws. But with all of the clutch moments this year and everything else, I can see him being the number 1 pick, why he was the number 1 overall pick. And the scary thing is he's only going to get better.
Yeah, he's young. He's young. I always say, and I want to get your thoughts on it, Sammy, the issue is it's like you never know the next time you'll be presented with that exact opportunity, which is hosting a divisional game, having this ridiculous play that for a moment it looks like
that was unreal.
Yeah, it might be like the play of the year in the NFL, but it can't be remembered as that because of the fact that the Rams won the game. it reminds me a little bit of like, yeah, it's like Miami. When's the next time they're going to play for a national championship in football? Like,
right, everyone just
were
assumes they're going to be back
there.
there. Yeah.
Now, I think it's different. I agree with Brent. I think Caleb Williams is a very good player. I think the Bears are well set up, but Josh Allen's a very good player. And the Bills were well set up. And now they're on the outside. And obviously the Bears have to wait a year as well.
The one thing, Fletch and I argued about this, call me crazy. I actually picked your Bears to win the division before the season. I'm telling you about that. The Bears are only going to get better. I think to your point about the division, I think the Lions made a real mistake getting Drew Petzing as the offensive coordinator and not Mike McDaniel. I don't know that we're just assuming the Lions are going to be back in that picture. I don't believe in JJ McCarthy, so the Vikings are there. And then the whole Packers situation, it feels like probably don't get enough critique. LaFleur has been the 7 seed each of the last 3 seasons. We've kind of anointed Jordan Love.
Right.
So we'll see there. So I do think the Bears will be back. In the game on Sunday, and Brent, I don't know how you feel. We're talking a little bit before the show. His receivers let him down. Roma Dunze missed the touchdown the first drive of the game, which then led to the 4th down interception. Loveland went from looking like the best tight end in football to not knowing how to catch a ball, 4 different drops. And then on the interception at the end of the game, DJ Moore didn't flatten his route. It was a total miscommunication. I know Caleb made some comments on that today that they hadn't talked, but to your point, Caleb Williams is like he's only going to get better. And I know it's frustrating sometimes when you have a quarterback who he misses. I watch him a lot at USC. He'll miss the 5-yard check down. He'll miss the easy throws, but there's just stuff like that 4th down play that you can't teach. That
Nobody
Mahomes has it, Allen, Rodgers, these guys have it, and you can't instill that. That's why I think he had the best weekend of all the second-year quarterbacks, including Drake May and Bo Nix. Like Drake May didn't look great in that game against Houston.
Honestly, that throw he made to tie it up to Kmet. Honestly, like, I don't even know if anyone can make that exact throw. You know what I mean? It was just
it was unreal.
Because of how instinctual and the fact that he gets that much on it off his back foot. You know what I mean? Like, again, there's guys that can make there's guys that have special talents, the Mahomes and the Allens, and maybe they make the exact same play. But the way he made that play in that moment truly felt like a 1 in a 10,000 type throw. And you always hate when you have something like that and then you don't win the game.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of examples of that in sports. Like how would we remember Rajay Davis, who hit the home run for the Indians before the Cubs won the World Series in Game 7? Rajay Davis would be remembered so differently. There was the 4th and 26. I'm aging myself now. Eagles Packers. Who caught that?
Freddie Mitchell.
Freddie Mitchell. But they lost the game, or they lost the next week. They lost the next week. It's like, yeah, if they won the Super Bowl, it's like, oh my gosh, 4th and 26. When you don't, listen, take nothing away. It was amazing. And I'm with you on Caleb Williams. I think he's a special player. I think the Bears will win with him. It always sucks when your team, when you lose, totally. You know?
When he made that throw, I just put my shoes on.
Right.
Peanut was complaining for like 5 minutes to go outside. So I'm just like, I had my shoes on. I'm just standing there. Yep. And when he ran straight back like 10 yards, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? This is just like,
unreal.
His rookie year, he did that all the time. And it drove
me
nuts.
Way, dude.
And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then when he just threw the ball, I'm like, oh my God, now you're just throwing it away. And then all of a sudden, I didn't see the dude in the corner. I just scream. I scream, holy!
He threw it away.
He caught it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And so we're talking about Indiana. Look what happens when you get a head coach and a quarterback right. And you see what happens, and it sounds like a basic take, but it is Vrabel and Drake May. When you get Sean Payton, Bo Nix, I thought played really well over the weekend. It's amazing. Like the Bears defense was completely turnover reliant, and we're probably very fortunate this year to have the success of defense that they will. Well, now they got a lot of cap space. They can probably go out and adjust that over the season. It's just, it really is amazing when you have a quarterback and a head coach. I think you always have a shot to win it. And this is why it's, these new head coaches are coming up, and it's interesting. Like who's going to be Lamar Jackson's head coach? Who's going to be Josh Allen's head coach? Like it is such a crucial pairing, and the Bears have it for a long time. And that's why they're going to be a perennial player, I think, in the NFC.
And I think we spent a lot of time last week talking about the weather and what impact it was going to have. And, it did impact the Rams.
Yeah.
I think they got fatigued a little bit. But I think it almost impacted the Bears more with all those drops.
Right.
To where, especially in that first quarter, is they had like 3 or 4 drops just in like the first quarter and a half of the game.
Can we briefly just touch on? We could do it on the other side as well. The whole catch definition, and
That was
look
crazy.
at this right now. Sean McDermott's out of a job, which, by the way, I understand. Like, you've been in Buffalo with Josh Allen for a long time. You haven't broken through. There was no Patrick Mahomes, so like you got.
There's no excuses this year.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no excuses. I mean, it is hard to know. It's like we've all watched football our whole lives, whether it's the NFL or college, and I watch a play like that, and honestly, I'm left thinking to myself, I don't even know. Like, for a moment, I'm like, you know what? That's a completion and the player's down. And then for a moment, I watch it again. I'm like, well, maybe not. Did he complete the catch? Just like, think about that. The most popular sport in this country, and there's no close second. And the thing that like we all take for granted is just catching the football. And I'm left watching that game, watching that play. I'm like, I don't even know what played out there and how you even define it.
And I know people are frustrated because they're pulling up the Adams play against the Bears.
My gosh, yeah.
I think those are two very different plays because the Adams play, his knee was down, and then the Bears ripped it out. Yeah. With the McMillan play against Cooks, is even though he was on his back, if you look at it, he never really had possession in.
You're saying Cooks?
Sorry, Cooks never really had possession, and McMillan had his hands around the ball, and then it popped out. So, listen, if I'm a Bills fan, I get wanting them to look at it. If I'm a Bills fan, I have a bigger gripe with the pass interference that actually was called on the next drive of the game. But it is crazy that we're in the NFL. We don't know what a catch is. And it goes back to the Des Bryant against Green Bay. I mean, there has been a lot of big playoff moments that have come down to, was that a catch or not? I think it was a pick, but that's just me personally.
I'm 100% with you on that one, Sammy. I almost wonder too that now that they implemented the quick review, this season, I wonder if they did look at it. They just didn't tell us, because there's times now in the game where normally they would waste 5 minutes doing the review to where all of a sudden it's like, nope, New York knew we were going to ask. So they already looked at it and it's a catch. It's good. We can just keep going.
Maybe they did. I think from like optically in the NFL playoffs, you probably wanted to take a minute, but to your point, yes, I think listen, in a playoff game in whatever sport, any close call is going, the other team that doesn't benefit from the call is going to talk about how they got jived in the game. But it is crazy that we don't have distinct defined rules on what a catch is.
Just especially in a sport where the margin is so little. Look at all these games. It comes down to like one play so often in the NFL. All right, we're going to get to the Aztecs. We're going to hear from Brian Dutcher on the other side. San Diego State has a big road test at Grand Canyon, a place they've never won. They've gone there twice. They're 0-2 all time. San Diego State at Grand Canyon tomorrow in the Mountain West. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher on the other side. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away in the 3 o'clock hour. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, John Schaefer, Sammy Long. Sammy's with us for another 10 minutes or so. We've got Will Princeton on the show at 4:30. We're going to talk some Aztec basketball actually right now. We're going to hear from Brian Dutcher. We have Aztec tickets to give away for a week from tonight against Colorado State. All of a sudden, and this can be fool's gold, but all of a sudden, ever since we brought a bracketologist on the show, San Diego State's appearing in a lot of brackets. Now, that's a credit to the Aztecs, who are 7-0 in the Mountain West. Now, as we know, in college basketball, you're on a razor's edge, especially when you're not like in the SEC or the Big Ten. You lose a game to Grand Canyon, all of a sudden you can slip on the outside. You win a game like at Grand Canyon, you can enhance your resume. That's just how this sport works. So the Aztecs are going to Grand Canyon. They got a nice win over New Mexico. We said they needed to beat a New Mexico or a Utah State to kind of further solidify their resume. This is not an easy week. Grand Canyon Wednesday. I don't have it in front of me. I should. They win something like 90% of the time at home in the last 50 games, right? Like, I'm making it up. 44-3 in the last 47 home games. And then UNLV Saturday, nationally televised game, I think on CBS. UNLV is going to be up for that, obviously, and they're playing better basketball and a quicker turnaround. So big week. You can't ask more out of the Aztecs in terms of what they've done in the league. They're 7-0, and now, can you keep this going on the road the next couple of games?
Well, I thought Saturday was very impressive. This Aztec team is a roller coaster, and what I think the underlying theme that has come out of the Mountain West play. And some people could look at this as a negative. I'm going to just look at it as a positive. Mm-hmm. They're finding ways to win close games, tight games. Now, do you wish the Boise States and the New Mexicos, they could put them away and there would be an easy second half where
more margin,
yeah. You're moving up in the net because you're beating a team by so much. But there is, if you get to March Madness, that's an if, but if they get there, it doesn't matter if you win by 10 or if you win by 1. You just got to win the game. Right. And it is nice that the Aztecs are finding ways to win these games. They just turned the ball over too much in the second half. They right out of the half, they had easy. New Mexico got some easy buckets right out of there. But then the talent really shone through. BJ Davis, Miles Bird being so much more aggressive recently, really taking on that number one scorer threat. I think it's changed this team for the better. And then you have your Reese Dixon Waters and your other guys who can really chip in. Elsie Harrington with the scoring that they do, with like in the raw scoring talent they have. But in my opinion, they needed a guy to step up and be the one. I'm the go-to guy, and it feels like Bird has been that recently. And them to weather the storm when Magoon Guath gets hurt in the first couple minutes, that's impressive against a tough New Mexico team. And this week, it's not going to get any easier, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's funny because when they put themselves, like, I guess proverbially behind the eight ball, like you lose Detroit home, the games against Michigan and Arizona obviously didn't benefit them, even though those teams are top 2 in the country. And then the other loss was Baylor, which is like a fringe tournament team. There's no shame in losing to Baylor on a neutral floor. But heading into New Mexico, they were still looking for a quote-unquote marquee win. Now, New Mexico, with all due respect, is not obviously beating Michigan or Arizona or even Baylor, probably. But it's a good win. And New Mexico's had a very good year. And all you can do, like once you've lost to Troy, all you can do is what they've done.
Right.
Like they've won 10 of their last 11. Their only losses in Phoenix to Arizona.
And by the way, they were competitive at half in that game.
Exactly. They led by 7 or 8 at one point in the first half. And I think they're much improved from the time they played Arizona. So, but my overarching point is they have 13 regular season games in the Mountain West tournament. It's still going to be hard because in the Mountain West, you're being asked to basically go, and I'm not a bracketologist, but I follow a lot of them on the internet. You're probably needing to go somewhere in that 16-4 range. You say, well, okay, they're 7-0. So can they go 9-4 in the last 13 games? That's reasonable. And it is. But you got to remember, at Utah State, at New Mexico, at Grand Canyon, all away, right? Where I don't have the point spread for tomorrow. There's a decent shot. San Diego State's probably, a slim underdog potentially, or slim favorite, maybe a 1 or 2 point underdog. Potentially in that game. Has anyone seen that? Brent's looking at
1.5 favorite for San Diego State on the road.
All right, they're favored by 1.5. They're 0-2 there all time. They're coming off a national championship game appearance. They had an All-American in Jaden Ledee, and they lost there the last time in 2023 with a very talented team that went to the Sweet 16 later that year. So I'm just saying that you have these 3 road games. You basically can't slip up. You can lose a couple of road games, but you're going to have to beat the Utah States at home. You're going to have to beat the Grand Canyons at home. Maybe you got to steal one of those road games I just mentioned, GCU, New Mexico, Utah State, and then you feel decent. But I'm just saying it's a tricky path. Let's see how they navigate it.
Right. And I think probably earlier on this year, we probably got had high expectations coming in
Yep.
Probably got a little too down on them, and rightfully so. They didn't play well the first couple of weeks, and you're sitting there wondering, what is this team? And now they got a Mountain West play. I think the depth of the bench has really come through. But to your point, Vegas probably has you. They're not dogged tomorrow, but this is a pick'em game against Grand Canyon.
Yep.
You're probably going to be dogged in New Mexico, probably going to be dogged in Utah State. So if we're just assuming that those might be losses, not that they will be, but if you're looking at the record to what you said, having to go 16-4, you got to pick one of these off, and then you got to be perfect at home. And you really, Viejas Arena, which we know it is, one of the toughest places to play in all college basketball. That has to be it has to be, you're not losing at home. And to counterpoint to what I said 5 minutes ago, it's great they're finding ways to win close games.
Yeah.
What you don't want is one of these to flip the other way. Inevitably, your Boise State, your New Mexico come back to bite you, and then you're sitting here on Selection Sunday, maybe need to win a Mountain West Conference tournament before to ensure you're in. It's important that they win these games, but it would be nice if they had a little bit of leeway heading into the second half.
Yeah, I just made the point that I thought 16-4 was the number I would strive for. I mean, you strive for 20-0, but let's be realistic.
Right, that's probably not
like 16-4 is a very good year. You're maybe the 1 or the 2 seed in the Mountain West tournament. But even Ken Pom, which has San Diego State technically favored in 11 of the last 13, but they still project the Aztecs at 15-5 in the league because some of the games they're favored in, including tomorrow, are true coin flips. Like Ken Pom tomorrow gives San Diego State a 53% chance of winning. Guess what that means? They have them winning by 1. Well, guess what?
Right.
A 1-point game, you could win it or you could lose it. And there's going to be a couple of games like that. To your point, maybe you win a game 72-71 along the way, but maybe you lose a game 72-71.
I'm curious. We're about to go to break, but you're more tapped in the Mountain West basketball than anyone I know. Is Utah State the biggest threat to him, or is it someone else?
Yeah, I think Utah State's put together a really good year. And then there's New Mexico. I really like New Mexico's roster. And I don't think they've reached their ceiling, nor do I think San Diego State has. I think those are the 3 best teams. I haven't seen Utah State up close and personal, but they've played like one of the best teams in the Mountain West. But New Mexico lost at Boise, so that puts them a little bit behind in the standings. They have 2 losses. I wouldn't be surprised if New Mexico got hot in the second half of the year. And I do think those are the 3 best teams right now in the league. Utah State, San Diego State, New Mexico, all trying to get to the NCAA tournament. Easier said than done in 2026. Sammy, appreciate you, man.
You're the best, brother. Let me know, you boys.
Yeah, I will. I don't know if I'm going to see you tomorrow. Because where am I? I'm in Phoenix tomorrow.
You're in Phoenix.
I'm doing 2-4 tomorrow from my hotel. If you want to stick around for an hour, let me know. You can do it down the line.
I'd love to.
Okay, so Sammy will be here tomorrow from 2 to 3. I'll be in Phoenix from 2 to 4, and J-Riff will be with you from 4 to 6 tomorrow. We have Aztec basketball tickets for a week from tomorrow night that we're giving away next hour. That's when San Diego State hosts Colorado State next week at Viejas. We will hear from Brian Dutcher on this Grand Canyon game on the other side. We'll get to Jimmy Butler's torn ACL and so much more. We're here until 6. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. San Diego State is on the road tomorrow night to take on Grand Canyon. Our pregame coverage starts at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Golden State Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has a torn ACL and will be out for the rest of the NBA season. Last night, Indiana defeated Miami 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it way back in 1894. We have Lakers basketball tonight on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on the Nuggets. Tip is at 7 o'clock. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with, shiny like that designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, hour 2. Here on 760, John Schaefer with you, Brent Sperry as well. We appreciate Sammy Long hanging out for an hour. We've got a good couple of hours lined up for you until 6. This hour, we'll give away Aztec basketball tickets for a week from tomorrow against Colorado State back at Viejas Arena. Next hour, we will have Will Brinson from CBS Sports talk about the conference championship weekend coming up and look back at this past weekend. And then at 5 p.m., we have San Diego State's baseball first-year head coach Kevin Vance on the show to talk about an upcoming event and to talk about their season that's starting in November. Before we get back to the Aztecs and the NFL, I didn't put a lot of stock in this when I saw it earlier because this was reported last week and we touched on it. But the Athletic has doubled down on the Padres showing interest in Freddie Peralta of the Brewers. Who at the Athletic? You know who. But the Athletic has doubled down on the Padres having interest in Freddie Peralta. On its face, makes a ton of sense. Why? Well, he makes no money. As far as starting pitchers go, I mean, this is a guy that's, I think, due $8 million next year. I mean, frontline starting pitching costs $30 million or more in Major League Baseball. So you get a pitcher that, because he's only arbitration eligible, is going to make $8 million next year. Now, why would the Brewers trade him? Because this is who the Brewers have been. Oftentimes, when they have players that are about to hit the market, they will get the return, right? That's what they've done with the Josh Haders of the world. There's countless examples of what the Brewers have done here in recent history. But here's Freddie Peralta. Because we threw out some names earlier, Lucas Giolito and Justin Verlander. Well, they all take a back seat to Freddie Peralta. This is one of the best pitchers in the National League. He was 17-6 last year with a 2.7 ERA. He struck out 204. And his whip, walks and hits over innings, was just over 1. So this is the best pitching option available to the San Diego Padres. Make no mistake. And you may say, well, what about, X, Y, or Z? Well, X, Y, or Z is going to make more money than Freddie Peralta. So Peralta, of course, is appealing to the Padres, just like it's appealing to me to have a 6-pack. And I'm not talking about drink one, but like have one on my body. The question is, would it be appealing for Milwaukee? And the only reason it would be is if the Padres had the right return for the Brewers. That's another conversation. Padres have gone deep into their system the last few years, whether it was trading for Juan Soto. Of course, they got the return when they let him go. And then this past year, trading for Mason Miller included getting rid of one of the top position player prospects in the sport in Leo DeVries. But on its face, does it sound terrific? Yeah, just like on its face, it sounds great to have a 6-night stay in Maui. But like, do we have the resources to have a 6-night stay in Maui? Do the Padres have the resources to acquire Freddie Peralta? And here's the one thing we touched about this last week. The Padres traditionally under Preller have not had a large appetite to acquire players, even if they're high ceiling guys, if they are quote unquote rentals. Now, he's not a true rental. Like, to me, a rental is when you get someone at the trade deadline and then he walks in 2 months. That's a free agent. When you have a full year, yeah, it's a rental because you only have him for a year. It's like a full year can mean so much. I mean, you have Freddie Peralta for 2026. Have you increased your chances of making the playoffs? Of course you have. Have you changed your trajectory in the postseason? Yeah, theoretically, if he puts together a year like he put together in 2025. So listen, I'm all for it. Like, anyone would be for it that's a Padres fan. But I'm not going to take you down this path where I'm like, oh, it's the Padres, and trust me, it's the Padres, because they've got a system that is better than, whatever other system that Milwaukee could deal with as well. I mean, there's a number of teams that have been connected to Peralta. And I think they listed like 6 or 7 from the Dodgers and the Yankees to the Mets and the Orioles to the Giants and the Astros. There's others. So you're talking about 6, 7, 8 teams that have been linked to Peralta. And yeah, don't get me started. One of them is the Dodgers. So one of the teams that's been linked to Freddie Peralta is the LA Dodgers. Again, we didn't say that, Kyle Tucker was the reason why they needed to change the history of the sport. I don't know what we would say if the Dodgers traded for Freddie Peralta, but certainly would make it more difficult.
Would it make more sense these days for like ESPN and them to come out and be like, oh yeah, the Dodgers have no interest in Freddie Peralta instead of just telling us who they have interest in, because it's just assume they have interest in everybody.
Yeah, 100%. They really should do that. So listen, I mean, it's very intriguing. There's not a bigger move the Padres could make between now and the start of the season than acquiring a pitcher of the caliber of Freddie Peralta. Sorry, you are talking about a different level player and starting pitcher when you get to the Nick Martinez's and the Lucas Giolitos and the Justin Verlanders. Like, all due respect, Nick Martinez has had a good career. We saw some of it in San Diego. He's not Freddie Peralta. Justin Verlander's career runs circles around Freddie Peralta, but he's 43. Verlander. Lucas Giolito's been good, but I would take the proven commodity in Peralta. Also, I'd be betting on him to have a good year heading into free agency. So, I mean, this is a brilliant, young enough pitcher. Like, even look at his last 3 years, 30 starts in 2023, 32 starts in 2024, 33 starts last year, 165 and 2/3 innings, followed by 173 and 2/3 innings, followed by 176 and 2/3 innings. He's been a model of consistency. He's won. Not that that's the end all be all for starting pitchers anymore, because it's so contingent on like your lineup. There's so many factors at play, obviously, between winning and losing. But I mean, sign me up, obviously, for Freddie Peralta. And for whatever reason, the Athletic is going down that path. Now they're going down that path with 6 or 8 teams. I guess I would say this. I'd be more surprised if the Padres traded for Freddie Peralta than if they spent 8 or 10 million on a pitcher like Nick Martinez or Lucas Giolito. And the reason I say that is, do they have enough commodities in their system to deal from a position of strength and acquire a starting pitcher of the caliber of Freddie Peralta? So it's not about the money. They'll take on the $8 million. Maybe they have to shed money to do that. They can do that. There's enough flexibility in there where they can shed the 8 or 10 that's necessary if it's Freddie Peralta. But do they have the system that's going to produce Peralta for them? I'm somewhat hesitant to say they do. I really am. I don't know enough about it. Maybe we'll get someone on from Mad Friars at some point between now and the start of spring training. And I know there's enough, but is there enough to get someone like Freddie Peralta? And then when you compare the system to the system of, let's say, LA or the Houston Astros or the San Francisco Giants, and again, I haven't done enough of a deep dive to know how the Padres would stack up. Would they overpay for a player that is technically a rental, that has 1 year left on his deal, because they feel like that's the player to put them over the top, and because they don't have to take on a lot of salary? If they took on Freddie Peralta, maybe they would overpay. Did they overpay for Mason Miller? I don't think they did. He was controllable for 3.5 years. So you gave up a frontline position player in Leo DeVries, but you got a frontline closer in Mason Miller. So it's a very interesting name, is what it is. And it's one that we'd all be enamored if the Padres are able to land a Freddie Peralta. And let's remember that the Padres offseason so far has been incredibly quiet. Like, incredibly. I don't even try. The most significant acquisition is a returnee in Michael King. And then you have Song Sung Moon, right?
Quiet's being nice. It's been boring.
It's been so boring. I mean, I don't even know. Is it Song Sung Moon or Sung Moon Song? Whoever, whatever his name is.
One of those Neil Diamond songs.
I don't know, but you acquire my issue when they made this acquisition, and I hope he pays value like Ha-Seong Kim paid value, and he did, and that was good scouting by the Padres. Now, this deal for Song was less dollars than Ha-Seong Kim, and the other thing is, like, this guy's 29, and he's coming over from the KBO, which is what Ha-Seong Kim did as well. You might say, well, John, what does it matter? So he's coming from the KBO. What does it matter if he's coming from Korea or Japan? Well, history would indicate that players that come over from Japan are much more equipped to handle the rigors of Major League Baseball from day one than Korea, because the KBO has been seen more of a double-A league, where the Nippon Professional Baseball League, the Japanese highest league, is seen more like a major league, closer to either somewhere between AAA and the major league. So his numbers are good, but I don't know if that's going to translate or not. He hit 26 home runs last year, just good number. Is that going to translate in the major leagues to Petco Park? My guess is this: he had never hit more than 19 home runs in any season in Korea until last year when he hit 26. My guess is he doesn't get anywhere near that in 2026 for the Padres, and maybe he'll be fortunate enough to hit double-digit home runs in 2026. I think that the best case scenario is he's versatile, he plays multiple positions, and he hits for average is what I would hope for in 2026. But that's your offseason. Like, your entire offseason is retaining Michael King. We sung the praises of that, no pun intended. And I still do, but Michael King only made 15 starts last year and is coming off, missing 3 months due to injury and didn't throw 100 innings. So I have to be cautious with King in terms of what I expect out of him in 2026. I'm glad they brought him back. I really am. And then this acquisition, we need to see it. I don't think this is really the difference for the Padres in terms of whether they're going to win 85 games or 90 games, or whether they're going to win a postseason round or not. I don't think it's going to be because of Sungmoon Song, truthfully. So, man, I'd love to be talking about Freddie Peralta. Man, I would take Nick Martinez right now, or Lucas Giolito to talk about that. I would really like to be talking about Freddie Peralta. I just don't know how realistic it is, and we have to look at it through the prism of the Padres offseason, which is quiet, eerily quiet, taking on very little salary, and that includes with Michael King. It's not a big deal. It's a series of one-year deals is what they basically gave him, including in 2026. And then the deal for the Korean infielder, it was not a high dollar amount deal with the Padres. So again, am I crossing my fingers for Freddie Peralta? Yes. But we got to see. We got to see if it's realistic or not for the Padres. All right, we'll hear from Brian Dutcher on the other side about this road trip coming up for the Aztecs and about playing in Phoenix against Grand Canyon tomorrow. Plus, on the other side, let's give away Aztec tickets for a week from tomorrow against Colorado State. We've got 2 free tickets for that showdown at Viejas between the Aztecs and the Rams. That's a week from tomorrow at 7:30 at Viejas Arena. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher. On the other side, Will Brinson is on the show at 4:30. We're here until 6 right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, we have Aztec basketball tickets for a week from tomorrow night. San Diego State, Colorado State. We'll give those away in the next 10 minutes. So be listening. A pair of tickets for San Diego State and Colorado State. There's some new reporting on the prospects of a lockout in baseball at the end of 2026 that I want to get to at 3:30. So we'll do that in about 10 minutes. But I do want to hear from Brian Dutcher. San Diego State will be at Grand Canyon tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific. We'll have pregame coverage at 7. I'll be on the radio for the show for a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon from 2 to 4. Then J-Riff will have you from 4 to 6 as I get ready for the game. But this is obviously a big game. Grand Canyon, you might say, Grand Canyon, like, shouldn't San Diego State beat Grand Canyon? Well, hold on. Not so fast, Lee Corso. Grand Canyon's been in the tournament for the last 5 years. Grand Canyon beat a ranked Utah State team on Saturday by 10 in Phoenix. Grand Canyon has resources and has been a very, I don't know if it's been quiet or not. Quietly, they've been very successful in the West. They were in the WAC. This year, that was their first year in the Mountain West, which is San Diego State's last year in the Mountain West. So, differing paths, strangers in the night, but they're going to meet in Phoenix tomorrow for the first of 2 regular season meetings. This is one of the more raucous environments in college basketball, Grand Canyon's home court. San Diego State's gone there twice over the years and lost both of the games, including when they went to the Sweet 16 back in 2024. Here was Brian Dutcher. This was yesterday on how dangerous Grand Canyon can be at home.
Yeah, I mean, obviously New Mexico is proven they're really good at home and tough to beat in there. And I would say the same thing for Grand Canyon. I think they're 44-3 over their last X amount of games in their home arena. Utah State, we know, is good, and they beat them in there in their last game. So we know what the challenge is, but it's the Mountain West. So anytime you go on the road, you're trying to steal a road win. Hold home court and steal one on the road. And that's what we have to find a way to do.
All right, so trying to steal a game on the road again against Grand Canyon. I mentioned this last hour, the Aztecs are well positioned because they're 7-0 in the Mountain West, but it's always precarious in college basketball because you're always a good win away from enhancing your resume. You're always a quote unquote, loss or even a bad loss away from obviously, having a notch on your resume negatively as well. So this is the type of game where it would be a really good win. And San Diego State, as we referenced earlier, is maybe a 1 or 2 point favorite. Also, I think the perspective would be if they don't win it, oh my gosh, they lost at Grand Canyon. And I'm telling you right now, like Dutch just said, whatever it is, 44-3 in their last 47 home games. Grand Canyon, they just beat a top 25 Utah State team at home by 10. They've got a really talented roster as well. So this is not an easy game. San Diego State might have to play one of its best games of the year in order to win. I think they're fully capable of winning this game, and it goes a long way if they win this game. This is the type of week where you got to get one, right? Because in a league outside of the SEC or the Big Ten, you can't afford back-to-back losses. And yes, San Diego State is going to be on the road for the next 2 games. Grand Canyon, tough. UNLV, I mean, the Aztecs have played the Rebels so well over the years, and UNLV has not been great this year, although has had some recent statement wins where they've looked a little better, including against Boise State at home. It's the type of week you got to get one. And I'm not in the business of settling. You'd love to get both of them and keep this winning streak going. If that were to happen, if San Diego State wins tomorrow night at Grand Canyon, well, then you're envisioning them winning at UNLV. All of a sudden, you've had one of the best starts in the history of the Mountain West for the Aztecs. This is only the second time under Dutch in 9 years they're 7-0 in the league. The only other time they were better than this is when they started 15-0 in the league, when they were 26-0 overall. 26-0 overall in 2019-20, when they lost at home to UNLV, when they started 26-0 and finished the year 30-2 after losing the Mountain West title game to Utah State. So this is a little rarefied, starting 7-0 in the league, and it's not something that you're going to do each and every year. And as I said earlier, it's not going to be easy to navigate the rest of the conference schedule just because you're 7-0 and be like, oh, well, they're 7-0. They're going to go 18-2, right? In the Mountain West, maybe if they continue to improve and play their best basketball in the second half of the year and reach their full potential and ceiling, maybe that's a possibility. What's more realistic is they're going to have some games where it's going to be hard at New Mexico and at Utah State and at Grand Canyon and home for Utah State and so on and so forth. So I like where the Aztecs are positioned. I really do, especially when you consider what people were saying in November. And I know some of you listening to me right now wrote off San Diego State in November because I have the receipts, I have the text messages, I have the social media posts. People told me they couldn't get to the NCAA tournament as an at-large team because they lost to Troy at home. That's what I was told in November. But the truth is, it's never as simple as that. And typically, resumes are built or broken on more than one game. And where San Diego State traditionally, under whether Brian Dutcher or Steve Fisher, where they're really, really, really good, is they stay the course and they avoid more than, let's say, a bad loss in a season, and they pile up a number of marquee wins. That's been the formula. I mean, you go back to last year, the Aztecs made the tournament because they avoided what would have been perceived as bad losses to Air Force on the road. They wanted at the buzzer from Wayne McKinney III, or San Jose State. They came back from 21 down at home and 17 on the road. Now, this year they couldn't do that against Troy. Troy's a good team. They're not a bad team. And the metrics would bear that out. But yeah, San Diego State needs to avoid another quote unquote bad loss, and they need to bolster their resume with good wins. And they still have that possibility moving forward. So it's a big game. They're all big. It's coming up tomorrow night in Phoenix, San Diego State and Grand Canyon at 8:00 with pregame coverage at 7 p.m. But I mean, beating New Mexico at home, I think is encouraging. Like, I think there was someone on the text line like, oh, they blew another 15-point lead. I'm like, no, they didn't blow anything. They won the game. So, I mean, they didn't win by 15 points. And like, basketball is not soccer. Like, I feel like in soccer, if you blow a 3-goal lead, yeah, you blew a 3-goal lead. Like in basketball, like I was watching on MLK Day yesterday, I was watching some NBA game and somebody was up 20 and then the game was tied. Like, it's basketball. It's a game of runs. And over 40 minutes, typically a team, at least a good team, like New Mexico is going to make a run. San Diego State was favored by 4. They won the game by 4 against New Mexico. All right, call right now. We have 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs take on Colorado State. This will be a week from tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. at Viejas Arena on January 28th. 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs' next men's basketball home game. If you call right now, caller 7, you are going 877-767-4760. Call right now, 877-767-4760. Caller 7, you have 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs take on the Colorado State Rams. We'll get to the prospects of a lockout at the end of the 2026 Major League Baseball season on the other side. There's new reporting on that. Is a salary cap coming to baseball or not? That's next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by eBay. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow night to take on Grand Canyon. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Golden State Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has a torn ACL and will be out for the remainder of the NBA season. Last night, Indiana defeated Miami 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it in 1894. And we have Lakers basketball tonight on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on Denver. Tip is set for 7 o'clock. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with. Shiny like the designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, I'll get into the reporting on a potential lockout and or salary cap coming to baseball in 2027. But the developing news out of baseball is that Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame has elected Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones. So they will join Jeff Kent, who was already chosen, I think, by the they have like the ERA committee. They got Jeff Kent in. Now a couple of center fielders, Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones. First blush thoughts here, and I want to talk about this for the next 10 minutes or more. I have two thoughts. A, I think they're both deserving. I don't care about the Beltran stuff that happened later. I think Beltran's absolutely deserving as a player. I think Andrew Jones is deserving as a player. And there's not a ton of center fielders. I think Jeff Passan tweeted, like, since 81, center fielders to go in: Ken Griffey, Kirby Puckett.
It seems odd, doesn't it?
It does. It does, but it's such a, I guess it's such an important position that you want to make sure to get it right. So, okay, since 81, the only two other center fielders elected, Ken Griffey and Kirby Puckett. That is odd. But here's what I would say. Here's where my mind goes after hearing this. And I know it's not the same position, but after I hear Andrew Jones, Carlos Beltran, I'll tell you who is a stone cold mortal lock for the Hall of Fame, and I've never said it with that level of certainty, is Manny Machado. You may love or hate Manny Machado. I think by and large, he's beloved here. By and large, I think he's misunderstood. I think it's a polarizing relationship, even with the city of San Diego. But I'm telling you right now that Manny Machado is at the point where he could basically hang him up and probably get in right now. And I think with another 2 years, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. And the reason I say this, so Andrew Jones's numbers, listen to this. He had 254 career, which is not great for his era. Now, he had 434 home runs, big number. He had less than 2,000 career hits, 1,933. There's no mistaking, and the reason I'm a proponent of him getting in, there's no mistaking. This is what I always say about a Hall of Famer. Was there a 3 to 5 year period of time where this was the best player in the sport at their position, or one of the best two players in their sport at that position? And I would say yes for Andrew Jones. There was that period of time where he took baseball by storm, late 90s, early 2000s. This guy was incredible, right? He was like a future Ken Griffey Jr., a lot of people thought. Now, he never was that, but this was a special player, a couple of 40 home run seasons, a couple of 50 home run seasons, very good player. Carlos Beltran, by the way, his career numbers, in my opinion, better. 435 home runs, I think is one more, but he had 2,725 hits. So he did it with longevity, and he hit 279 for his career. And I would kind of say the same thing, like Beltran's a former Rookie of the Year. Here's a guy that over a 5-year stretch was an all-star like each and every year. He was consistently a 35, 38, 40 home run guy. Never the gaudy, right? Like steroid era, 60 plus home runs, but you don't need to be that guy. And that's not who Machado has been. But these two players, Brian, I mean, I look at Machado right now, who is 33 and is hitting 279 for his career, has hit 369 home runs, and has 2,069 hits. I think Machado is closer to the Hall of Fame right now than people think. And I think give it another 1 to 3 years and he's a lock. Give it another 1 to 3 years beyond that, and he's probably a first ballot lock. So, what do you think of Jones and Beltran?
I don't have a problem with it. It's like you said, there is like that 3 to 5 year period where Andrew Jones like was the center fielder.
The guy was a monster.
And, yeah, he didn't hit for average, but how many gold gloves did he win?
Good point.
He had a bunch of gold gloves and he played great defense and everything. So I don't have a problem with either one of those.
No, it's not even that. I mean, I think sometimes it's like, it's a stretch. Is this where we're going with the Hall of Fame? I'm all for. I like that the Hall of Fame is leaning away from, you got to have 500 home runs. You got to have 3,000 hits. So if you have to do that, you have no one in Cooperstown.
Yeah. I'm not having I remember Hartman when Harold Baines got put in there and he just threw a fit about how, if he can get in there, then this is just mediocrity and everybody can get in there. I didn't have one of those feelings today when it was just like, oh God, they let Andrew Jones in and he only hit, under 275 career. I don't have a problem with that. But along your lines too, yeah, I think this is good news for Manny Machado because I think just with his stats and his name brand, I guess I would say for lack of a better term, he's had some issues where, certain fan bases might think he's kind of a jerk and stuff like that, but he's never been caught up in any steroid scandals, which is the biggie for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If you are even whiffed at in any of those conversations, that's going to hurt your chances.
Yeah, sorry, Fernando.
Yeah, he's never been brought up in any of that stuff. So, there's a lot of jerks that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So they're not going to keep him out just for that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's not that today is about, Manny Machado making the Hall of Fame, but we're, 10, 12 years away. I know he's under contract for forever, so maybe he plays for forever. So maybe it takes more than 10 to 12 years. But, you're in the neighborhood of, a decade plus away from Machado going into Cooperstown with a Padres hat. Because he's going to have done the lion's share of his work in San Diego. I mean, he had great numbers in Baltimore, but he's already played as many games in San Diego as he had in Baltimore. In fact, he's played more games as a Padre, over 100 more games as a Padre than he did as an Oriole. Isn't that amazing? And he's still only 33. Let's say he's just here for the next 5 years. He's going to play 1,000 more games as a Padre than he did as an Oriole. And again, are these numbers at some point, what's the right word? They're not going to soften. The numbers are only going to be compiled. I'm not saying he's going to continue to be a 280 career hitter or he's going to continue to hit an average 30 home runs a year or compile, 170 hits per season. Those numbers are going to take a step back over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, obviously. But I mean, I can't believe he's already hit 369 home runs. Think about that. That means 20 home runs a year for the next 6 years is 120. 120 plus 370 is 490. He's 6 20 home run seasons away. This would put him as a 39-year-old. And he would be on the cusp of 500. That's at 20 home runs. He hasn't hit fewer than 27 as a Padre. Now he's going to get older. So it's going to, and he's not going to play every day like he has. But I think he will certainly average 20 home runs over the next 6 years. I also think, now remember, he's only 900 hits away from 3,000. 900. So I almost think, again, we can't assume health, but I'd be very surprised if Machado didn't get to 3,000 hits, 475 plus home runs. I think he's just going to do it by basically playing over the next 5 years.
I think he has a better chance at the hits than he does the home runs.
Probably.
Because, the last 2 seasons, we, on multiple rap questions, is Manny even going to hit 15 homers this year?
True.
And now that that's kind of become a trend, and then he would get hot and kind of make us shut up for a couple of weeks. But now that it's kind of been a trend of that, I don't know if 20 home runs a year is going to be a given for him. I think as he gets older, I think he's just going to be more of a hits for average type of a guy opposed to hit home runs. Because if you're not a home run hitter at this point in your career, you're not just going to all of a sudden turn into one.
More.
Yeah. In the end of it, unless he just totally just goes nuts in the weight room, towards the end of his career because he plans on playing DH or something. But I don't see that
Look at
happening.
it like this. I agree with you. I don't think some gaudy home run year is coming for Machado. But would you bet higher or lower than 25 home runs this year for Machado? He hit 27 last year. Let's just say he hits 25.
I'd probably take the under.
Would you, under 25?
Yeah.
Here are his last 3 years. Actually, to your point, listen to this. His last 4 years: 32, 30, 29, 27.
Yeah, I take the under.
But even my point though, let's say it's 25 this year, 23 the next, 21 the next, 19 the next. You're still averaging 20 over those 4 years, which is going to get him close to 500. And then to your point, his bat is going to play even if it doesn't play for power, and he'll compile the hits. He's only 900 hits away from 3,000, and this guy plays so often. I'd be shocked if he didn't surpass. I mean, he could have 3,500 hits in his career.
Dude, if Julio Franco could sit there in Atlanta and DH until he was felt like he was 57 years old, but if he can do that, then I think Manny can do that.
Listen to this. So remember the Braves in their run? They only won one World Series in that run. Now they've won one since, but in '95 they won the World Series. The 97 Braves had 8 Hall of Famers associated. Now, if you include Bobby Cox and John Sherholtz, GM and manager, that's 2 of them. The other 6, Andrew and Chipper Jones, Fred McGriff, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz. Whoa. Did not win the World Series in 1997. Who did? The Marlins? Is that right? I think the Florida Marlins won the World Series in 1997. The bought World Series. 1997, I think that's right. But think about that. They had 8 Hall of Famers associated with that one club, 6 of them on field, did not win the World Series.
Yeah, that's the Marlins team that beat Cleveland.
Yeah, I remember that. All right, on the other side, the latest on a looming lockout in Major League Baseball, the latest reporting, could we see a salary cap or not in 2027? We'll get to the wrap at 4 p.m. Will Brinson will join us from CBS Sports with more in the NFL and the crazy divisional round weekend that we just witnessed. We'll look ahead to the championship weekend as well. He'll join us at 4:30. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday. It's the Bonus Bucks giveaway every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword, enter it at sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 coming up at 4 p.m. in about 12 or 13 minutes. Will Brinson will join us at 4:30 from CBS Sports. More on Conference Championship Weekend coming up in the NFL. All right, so we're reacting to Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran being enshrined into Cooperstown. So we'll have more on that. I have more thoughts on that coming up. In addition, there was an article that I saw that is from Evan Drellich, and I think this is at The Athletic. It is. Listen to this quote on what could be a looming lockout, right, in Major League Baseball. So here's the quote. A 100% certainty that the owners will push for a salary cap in the wake of the Kyle Tucker deal with the Dodgers. Ownership source says. And then here's another quote. These guys are going to go for a cap no matter what it takes. So I'm going to go back to something we said last week. Kyle Tucker signs with the Dodgers. People lose their minds. And are we really going to change the sport over the Kyle Tucker deal? Like it's not Ohtani. It's not Yamamoto. It's not Snell. It's not Suzuki's posting period, which might have been, who even knows how that played out, right? It's none of that. It's none of that. It's not the Pirates having a $30 million payroll over the last 2 decades. It's playing in front of 1,500 people. It's not the Rays not having a ballpark. It's none of that. It's Kyle Tucker's deal. We can't stand for this Kyle Tucker just signed with the Dodgers. 4 years, $240 million. That to me, of course, makes no sense. Now, if this is to be taken on its face, which I do not take it, I think it's all posturing, that there's a 100% certainty that the owners will push for a salary cap. And this quote, these guys are going to go for a cap no matter what it takes. Here's the thing. There's a big difference between going for a cap and having a cap a part of a deal. Now, if people put their foot in the sand, then maybe you have some type of looming stoppage, which nobody wants to see. I don't think that's good for anything. And I'll go back to what we said last week, bro. Go put your cute little salary cap in. Teams will circumvent it. And you're not taking players off the Dodgers. So whatever cap they're instilling in 2027 or installing in this sport is not taking Kyle Tucker or Shohei Ohtani or Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts or Blake Snell or Yoshinobu Yamamoto or whomever else off that Dodgers roster. So if you think this is the fix, I got news for you. This is not the fix. What it probably leads to is a stoppage, which I don't think is good for anyone.
It's one of those cases where you got a leak in your roof and you're worried about painting the bathroom walls. It's just like,
that's a good one.
You have to worry about something. The salary cap isn't really the issue. Everyone's issue with primarily the Dodgers, because they're the ones that are doing the most, is the deferred money. I would rather they just go in there this offseason or, during the season, just get hashed out and just work. You have to have some sort of limit with the deferrals. We can't just have an infinite amount of money that only certain teams can use on deferrals, but the other teams, if you even want to try and use a third of that, Major League Baseball is going to tell you to kick rocks. So I'd rather have them work on something with that, and then maybe something with like the basement for, teams to have to spend a certain amount of cash, opposed to just a straight up salary cap like all the other sports, because that's not going to happen. It's too late.
Yeah, like honestly, the cap isn't the thing that really has me up in arms. You might say, well, what are you talking about? The cap doesn't have you up in arms. Look at what the Dodgers and the Mets have done. Well, guess what? Padres have spent. They're over the luxury tax number 3 of the last 4 years, something like that. Maybe 4 of the last 5. Like, I'm not trying to curtail spending in San Diego. Like, are we sure we want the playing field level? I mean, the Padres have been a have in the current system. Now, they haven't been a have like the Dodgers, but are we so sure you really want the Pirates and the Marlins to have the same handshake as you do and the Rockies? Because if you do, aren't you welcoming them back into the conversation for playoff spots? Like, Again, do I think the system is perfect? Absolutely not. I think Brent's point is a valid one with deferrals. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. The Dodgers have deferred more money than the other 29 teams combined in the history of the sport. So yeah, okay, there's some fixing that needs to be done. Make no mistake. But also, isn't there like a capitalist element to you're going to stop the Dodgers from spending because, well, that's what we do in the NFL, and the NFL really works. They're all different sports. At the end of the day, there's a cap as well in the NBA, right? Guess what? There's still dominant players in the NBA, and there's been ways to circumvent it. Look at the way the Warriors have traditionally spent in the Steph Curry era to keep that team together, and they've been taxed and taxed heavily. I think if nothing else, we'll get change because every CBA has change, but you're not going to get the change you're hoping for. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if I'm hoping for the change that people are hoping for, because once you put a floor in along with a cap, you might change the fortunes of some of these teams that aren't even trying to win. So it's a complicated matter. And I wouldn't change every single rule because the LA Dodgers have won the last 2 World Series. I just wouldn't do that. Dodgers had advantages in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s and weren't winning World Series. And just because Kyle Tucker got a $240 million deal, to me, is not the reason why we need a lockout or a work stoppage in 2027. So we'll see where they go from here. Again, there's going to be some hard lines drawn because it's easy to make these strong statements when teams are still playing and players are getting paid and owners are still creating revenue for themselves. You get into 2027 and there actually is a stoppage and players aren't getting paid and owners aren't reaping the rewards of their ownership. And it's not as simple as we're not going to play until there's a salary cap or this is how it's going to play out. The last time this presented itself, Brent, 3, 4, 5 years ago, there were sides that took some pretty hard lines and stances until they didn't. And all of a sudden it got done. It got done late, but we didn't miss games when it did get done.
Well, one of the things with like the lockout and stuff like that, when you have like sports related like strikes and stuff, is that, yeah, sure, if they get locked out, Judge, he's going to be cool, but, the Yankees second string,
backup catcher, fourth
second baseman or stuff like that. That dude's going to be struggling.
They need the money. Yep.
So the bigger guys are going to be all right, but it's going to be the majority of the smaller level guys that are going to be like, yeah, we should probably sign something because I need to eat.
Well, that's always the issue. It's like for every star, there's 10 other players in the union.
At least.
Right. So while it is true, I'm making it up, 50 to 100 players in Major League Baseball making 10 million or more per year. More, right? 100 players are making 10 or more million per year. Well, guess what? Each team has 26 players. 26 times 30 at any one time, what is that? 700, 800 players. So if 100 of them are making 10 or more million a year, well, there may be a few hundred only making, I say only, again, it's all with perspective, but there's a couple hundred players in the major leagues that are making, $700,000-800,000 in a year. I get it. We'd all love to earn $700,000 or $800,000 in a year, but when that's your livelihood and your career on average for a player making $700,000 or $800,000 a year is 3 to 5 seasons, you need that money. You don't want to cast aside an $800,000 paycheck for the betterment maybe of the players union. That's hard to imagine for me that we wouldn't have baseball in 2027. I still think that's way too far fetched. I'm sure there'll be bitter disagreements. I'm sure there will be some type of, lockout element to it, but I'm not convinced we're going to miss games or a huge amount of games in 2027, even with these two sides drawing hard lines right now. We'll get to the wrap coming up on the other side. Will Brinson will join us at 4:30. We're here until 6 on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Staples. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow night to take on Grand Canyon. Pre-game coverage with Fletch will start at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Golden State Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has a torn ACL and he will be out for the rest of the season. In Major League Baseball news, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran were both inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame today. Last night, Indiana defeated the Hurricanes 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it way back in 1894. And tonight we have Lakers basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on the Nuggets. Tip is scheduled for 7 o'clock. It's a new year and Staples has fresh deals to get you fully equipped for 2026, like up to $120 off HP Smart Take printers. This deal means business and so do these printers. Shop in store and online today. Staples, that was easy, ends January 31st.
All right, San Diego and Southern California here until 6 p.m. This is hour 3. Will Brinson swings by at 4:30. We'll talk about the NFL postseason conference championship weekend coming up. Will Brinson will join us at 4:30. We'll get back into the Aztecs. Of course, we'll talk about again what we've been talking about with the Baseball Hall of Fame and the upcoming 2026 season. Is there a looming lockout or not? We're watching some college hoops in the studio. Thank you, Brent. I didn't realize you have Peacock available to you. So I told Brent like 15 minutes ago, I'm like, can you put on the Michigan-Indiana college basketball game? Because I'm just kind of curious. I'm like, this is a big game, right? Like number 3, Michigan 16-1. Indiana's kind of on the bubble. Their football team just won a national championship yesterday. Like that's going to be on TV, right? No, it's on Peacock tonight. Now our buddy John Fanta is on the call. I didn't realize you had Peacock.
Yeah, I get it for free because I have Walmart Plus. But I had it for
Wait, why do you get it for free?
Because I have Walmart Plus.
Oh.
Because when I hurt my ankle, I was doing a lot of like grocery delivery stuff. And you get to pick which streaming service. So I got to pick between Paramount Plus, which I already had, and Peacock, which I also already had. But yeah, they just pay for Peacock through that.
How many services do you have right now?
Peacock, Paramount Plus, Netflix. Because the Bears-Packer game, I have Prime for a month. I got a free trial for that, though, so that worked out.
So what are you paying for, like 2.5? Like, because you have Walmart Plus, you get one for free, and then you pay for, like, Netflix and Paramount?
Well, I get Hulu for free through T-Mobile. I get Peacock for free through Walmart Plus. I was getting Apple TV for free also through T-Mobile, but they changed that. I didn't want to pay $3 a month for Apple because I don't watch it ever. So pretty much the only one that I pay for is Paramount Plus. The rest of them I'll get through cell phone providers and other things.
I kind of like that because the issue that I've experienced, you know, like all of us, I feel like anyone listening to my voice right now, like we all spend a lot of time consuming our days with sports. Myself included, obviously. And I want to see all this stuff, but I just can't bring myself, even if I have the money in the bank account, I can't bring myself to be like, well, this is $12.99 and this is $13.99 and this is $9.99. I just add it up in my head. It's like the math, the dollars and cents of me, like the math guy in me says that, yeah, I want to watch Michigan, Indiana on Peacock, but I'm not willing to spend the $12.99 and then you add it up with the Paramount and the Netflix and I just can't. So we got a couple of them, but at some point I have to pick and choose. Like I don't have Peacock right now, even though I like the content. I think the sports content is pretty decent on Peacock, especially for a college sports fan. I'm just like, I don't know. I just can't justify it.
I like Peacock because they do a good job adjusting. My like beef with Paramount Plus is once the NFL season is over, unless you're like into soccer or golf, there's not a lot there until March Madness rolls around. Then that's their heyday. But up until then, it's just kind of like once football's gone, there's nothing. Peacock is at least adjusting where when football's done, we're going to have, Major League Baseball game of the week on Peacock instead of Sunday Night Football.
Good point.
They transitioned from, going from having all those college football games on Saturday and
College
to now
basketball.
they got college basketball,
Yep.
but not just on Saturday. Like tonight they got a triple header on, and that goes
That's
out
interesting.
through the week.
Yeah.
Then they have all the NBA coverage that they have on there this year. So sports, and they have the soccer and other stuff that I don't watch too, and golf. But they do a good job of filling airtime, so to speak, with other sports, opposed to where Peacock is just like, hey, don't worry, the NFL starts up again in 7 more months.
Yeah, like there's certain things that I have to have, and I'm kind of curious. 70470 started with team. Like as a sports fan, are there any streamers you have to have? Again, some people have cable, some people then have like the YouTube TVs of the world, but beyond that, like you have to have Peacock because I'm making it up. You're a Big Ten football or basketball fan. The thing for me, and it's because I cover the Mountain West and San Diego State. Of course, I'm at all the San Diego State football and basketball. But if San Diego State and its league, its conference is going to be on, I'm making it up, CBS. They're going to be on CBS, USA, and who was the other?
WB or something.
Yeah. Thank you. No, not the
UPN?
CW.
The CW.
The CW.
UPN,
But
they don't exist anymore.
if the Pac-12, the new Pac-12 with San Diego State had to deal with Peacock or ESPN with ESPN Plus, I would definitely get it because I need to see the other games going on. If Peacock right now had tonight Boise State, Utah State, I'd have Peacock. But because the Pac-12 or the current Mountain West doesn't have it, I just haven't been willing to go yet that far. But I get it. Like, it's always the worst when I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to watching this. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. That feeling. And it doesn't have to be sports. That feeling like someone tells you about a show like, oh, you're going to love the show. Here's why. It's great. It's, 8 parts and you're going to absolutely be enamored with it. I'm like, where is it? Like Hulu. I'm like, I don't have Hulu. So it's just, I don't know. I just like it back in the day. Like 20 years ago, I had no issue buying cable and then just having everything. And now 20 years later, I still don't have an issue with cable or YouTube TV, but I just don't want to buy the other 6 or 8 things that go along with it to make sure that I get all the content. Honestly, if you could snap your fingers, even if the price tag was high and just everything was easily and readily available, just all in one platform and all right there, that to me is a little more tempting. But now it's like, I got to spend the $12. I got to remember my password. I got to go to Peacock. I just forget about it.
For me, one of the annoying things too is that they got so, and I'm talking about all the providers, they got so greedy for money when they split everything up to where it's like, oh, well, you can get it for this, but it's going to be standard definition and you have commercials.
Right.
If you want actual, high definition, you're going to have to pay more for it. Oh, you don't want commercials? You're also going to have to pay more for that. And it's just like, just give us high definition and no commercials like everyone used to before. They're like, oh, wait, this justifies us raising the price every 6 months if we do this.
Dude, you know what's so funny? And we'll get to the wrap coming up at 4:15 and then Will Brinson at 4:30. What's really funny to me is the way Jones consumes like even cartoons. When we were kids, we were happy to sit there 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning and watch 2 or 3 shows from 8 to 10, right? You were happy to sit there. Maybe you had 2 options. Maybe, one network had something, another network had another. And you're sitting through the commercials. You had no other choice. It's 1988. You have no other choice. Now, Jones has reached the point where he gets so frustrated every time an ad pops up. He would never consider sitting through the 2.5-minute ad block, let alone the 5-second ad that we can skip on YouTube, right? The 5 or the 15. The idea of you and I would sit there and we'd watch some cartoon as 7-year-olds. We'd sit there for 3.5 minutes and then the cartoon would come back. Now he's like, can we like when he can't fast forward live television and it has ads, he's like, is at a complete loss for himself. Like, what's the deal here? How come I can't fast forward? I'm like, it's on the television. It's live.
I won't do the no like commercial option because I don't care.
Yeah, you'll just allow the commercials.
As long as they're not like, if I'm watching a show, then you can cut in with commercials because they already have the natural breaks in there for when it's on TV. Just don't do it during movies. That's my whole thing. As long as you're not going to cut in.
Do they do it though? They do it.
No,
most
of them don't. Most of them don't.
Okay.
Just for the shows. When you have to watch a movie, they'll just tell you up front that here, you're going to just watch this 3.5 minute long commercial break. And then I'll let you watch your 90-minute movie without any, cut-ins or anything like that.
I got you. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. It's just funny. Like generationally, every generation has their thing. Like I'm sure like our grandparents, their parents are like, oh my gosh, you have television. Like this is going to ruin society. And then like me and you, it's like we had cable TV or color
Well,
television, and now
even my friends, it's annoying because, like you said, we still watch commercials.
yeah, I have no problem.
So I will watch a commercial for, Petridge Farm or something, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, did you see that Petridge Farm commercial?" And all my friends are like,
what?
"No, I don't
Like,
watch commercials. I haven't watched a commercial in 5 years."
Yeah.
And it's just like, "Oh, okay." And it's just like I want to like rant or like talk about some commercial, and it's just like, but I can't because you guys have no idea what I'm talking about.
Like a lot of people are actually weighing in on this. 70470 started with the word team. Like 619 says, it's so annoying. I just cancel my Netflix because they have so much stuff, and yet somehow none of it is appealing, and I end up watching nothing. We will do that as well, by the way, to your point. I do think Netflix has a pretty good variety. Like, seriously, I think by and large, we can typically find something, and they're often adding, like they're promoting coming Wednesday, coming Friday. I feel like every 7-10 days, you're getting a good influx. Plus, by the way, they've added a ton in podcasting that we've been talking about, and some of it's through iHeart. And I've been watching some of that, and I feel like that is a good addition as well, some of the podcasting. They've added, our 619 here says the UFC is coming to Paramount Plus starting next weekend, which is absolutely huge. No more pay-per-view, game changer for fight fans. So I guess some of it maybe is encouraging. But then I go back to the WWE stuff that you guys were talking about, where people got excited by ESPN, and then they started airing some of their product, and you had to have like the upcharge ESPN to get it, right?
Well, and lots of stuff too is, like UFC going to Paramount Plus. How long is that going to go for? Because just since they've gone streaming, like South Park, for example, South Park at one point, they were exclusively going to only stream on HBO Max. And then like 2 weeks later, they signed a deal with Paramount Plus at the same time. And they signed because they turned it into like a whole like South Park movie thing that they streamed on Paramount Plus, where they made fun of it. But they had multiple streaming deals to be the exclusive streaming provider of South Park. So for me, it's just like, okay, but am I going to get Paramount Plus, and then, next year some other, Max is going to decide that they want it, and it just keeps shuffling around? Like WWE, they've been on Peacock. Everything. Now they've been on the ESPN service, and they just keep jumping around. So are we going to see all this jumping, or are we going to see more consistency with it?
Now, I will say there's a couple of other texts that are rolling in here. Like 631 says MLB.TV is a great product. I completely agree with that. Here's my one issue with MLB.TV. And it's not an issue with MLB.TV.
Local blackouts.
Well, they don't have any more if you're in San Diego, for example. So these teams that don't have the Fox Sports San Diegos and the Bally Sports San Diegos, we can have MLB.TV, right? And we can watch the Padres locally. My issue is I get MLB.TV. I'm happy to spend the $20 a month, $100 for the year, $120. But then Friday night, Apple TV every once in a while. Sunday, Peacock game of the week. Like, if I'm going to pay the $20 a month to watch the Padres, which is reasonable and fair, I just want to be able to watch all the games. I feel like at $20 a month, I should be able to watch the Padres, all of their games.
See, I want them to eliminate the blackouts altogether.
Everywhere, yeah.
Because, you can still watch the Padres if you pay extra to watch the Padres.
Yeah, correct.
You can't just get the whole league package and watch the Padres.
Exactly
They're still blacked out.
Correct.
So that's my whole thing is, for me, I luck out being a Cubs fan that I can watch all the Cubs games,
right? Because
unless they play in the state of California,
exactly.
Yeah. Unless they play, the Dodgers, Giants, or Padres, or the well, not the A's anymore. They won't. They're going to get unblacked out. But unless they're playing one of those teams, I'm good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. You can keep getting your texts in. I see some rolling in right now. Again, it's the blessing and the curse of being a sports fan. I love being a sports fan, but the fact that I need to own every single streaming platform to consume everything I want to watch seems a little excessive. Let's get to the wrap on the other side. Will Brinson will join us at 4:30 here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, Jon Jim for Brent Sperry. Will Brinson coming up at 4:30. We're here until 6. We typically get to the wrap around 4 p.m., but we got caught up talking about Hulu and Peacock and all these streaming platforms. So right now, let's get to it.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
How do the Warriors overcome Jimmy Butler's torn ACL?
I mean, by tanking. You really can't, though, unfortunately. I mean, here's the thing. The Warriors were already in a precarious spot, right? Like, they're not one of the better teams in the West. They're not one of the worst either. They're in that place you never want to be in, which is in the middle. And now, like, they were playing well. They've been in the midst of this long homestand. They've won 4 straight games. 25-19 is still only the 8th best record in the Western Conference. Now, they were within 3 or 4 games of a top 4 seed. I just think that's now out the window. Can they finish in the postseason? Yes, they're 25-19. Can some of it still be addressed? I guess, but that is such a significant loss that I think where are the Warriors heading? You've got Jimmy Butler coming off an ACL now. You have an aging Steph Curry. I mean, you've had the highs and lows of this season. I have no idea where you turn if you're the Warriors, truthfully.
Well, and, Jonathan Kuminga demanded a trade like a week and a half ago. So he's kind of been sitting because they've been shopping him. So their only hope really is that they can maybe get something. They're not going to get anything close to the player that Jimmy Butler is for Kuminga. But
something
they need something,
term.
even if it's two smaller level players.
So what are you playing for? You know what I mean? So you make this acquisition to be the 7 seed to lose in 5 games to the Spurs? Or do you have Steph Curry so you always have a shot if you make the postseason, if he's healthy?
I'd say you always have a shot. And that's the thing with basketball is because of the draft lottery, there's no guarantee that, sure, let's say they just say this season's screwed, let's just give up. There's no guarantee that, they could still end up picking, 12th or 13th. It doesn't, there's no guarantee to it. So they might as well just keep on playing.
Yeah, I agree with that. At 25-19, you can't tank it away because you're not going to finish with one of the worst records anyway in the NBA. So, no, they're going to, quote unquote, go for it with Steph Curry. I just think they already had slim chances in the West, and they've gotten slimmer off the Jimmy Butler news. Next question.
Will Indiana win another national title under Curt Cignetti?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say no. Now, listen, I think he's in maybe he's 63. Let's say he's there another, it's college sports. Nobody lasts forever anymore. Let's say he's there another 5 years because it's college sports. Is he going to win one in the next 5 years? Is he going to be favored next year? I don't think they'll be favored again to do it. I really don't. I think he'll be among 10 or 12 favorites to maybe do it. I don't think it's true lightning in a bottle because he got him to the postseason his first year and then he won it his second year. But it's hard to win national championships, especially in like a 12-team or 16-team format, playing 3 or 4 playoff games. So I'll say no. He's obviously cemented his legacy. It's a ridiculous one. But I think he'll be there another handful of years, and I'll say he'll have a playoff team or 2, but I don't think he's going to have another national championship team at Indiana. What do you think? It's hard, right?
I think just they showed this year and last year how much NIL can just completely transform a team and a program to where, Indiana's got a lot of NIL money. What's to prevent them from, being the new Ohio State or being the new Michigan in the Big Ten Conference? Because with NIL and everything else, Ohio State and Michigan can't just sit there and stockpile all these 5-star recruits at pretty much every position just to leave them sit on the bench, because they'll just transfer and go to some other place and just play. And it's even in the playing field out a little bit to where I don't think there's anything that says Indiana can't, they can't become the new they can't jump into the top like 3 or 4 teams, with Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan.
And Oregon. I think they've proven they
Oregon.
can.
I agree.
I think they can. Now to take it to the next level and win another national championship, they can. They can. We'll see if they can pull it off under Curt Cignetti or not. Next question.
Did the Bills make the right call firing Sean McDermott?
I would say, here's the thing. Like, I thought they easily could have won the game in Denver. So under that theory, it's like, hold on, you got rid of a guy. There was the controversial call. It was a coin flip type game. Was it really on him? But the other part of me is he's 8-8 in the postseason in his career with Josh Allen. So they had their chances that they didn't fully capitalize on. And at some point, time runs out. Andy Reid left Philadelphia. He had a second act. Maybe Sean McDermott will have a second act. And I do feel like maybe someone's going to be able to do better with the Bills than McDermott did. So listen, made the postseason a ton, won 8 playoff games. That's not nothing. But when you have Josh Allen, the expectation, and they're moving into a new stadium, the expectation is you got to get to a Super Bowl. Have to, right? Got to get to a Super Bowl.
I thought it was a lot kind of like Marvin Lewis. Remember Marvin Lewis was
that.
like one of the greatest regular season coaches of all time. Couldn't win a playoff game to save his life. It gets to a certain point where it's obvious that you've gone about as far as you can go with the guy that you have. And he's had enough opportunities with Josh Allen to where, and they've had enough, excuses and everything else from, oh, well, he didn't get a chance to, touch the football in overtime. So we're going to change the overtime rules. And, oh, well, they've made enough rule changes and stuff to aid them that, it was to the point to where he got him as far as he can get him, and it's time to try something different.
Next question.
Will Fernando Mendoza be a franchise quarterback in the NFL?
I mean, I kind of would have laughed at that question like 12 weeks ago. And now I think he has the traits to do it, honestly, because he's big and strong and he can take a hit and get back up. He's smart and he's got a good arm. So I feel like he has the attributes in order to be it. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 3 quarterback in the league, but is he capable of being a longtime starter in the NFL? I think it's at least a possibility.
He kind of just feels like a taller Marcus Mariota to me, to where, yeah, he was good in college, but I don't know necessarily if it's going to translate. And it might translate enough that, he could have a, 7-8 year career as like a backup or just like a, starter for the Cardinals or something like that. But I can't see him turning into another Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes.
We can ask Will Brinson, CBS Sports, on the other side, his reaction to the divisional weekend, the championship games coming up this upcoming weekend. Will Brinson from CBS Sports joins us next.
The support is sponsored by eBay. San Diego State is on the road tomorrow night to take on Grand Canyon. Our pregame coverage with Ben starts at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Golden State Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has a torn ACL, and he will be out for the remainder of the season. Last night, Indiana defeated Miami 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it all the way back in 1894. And tonight we have Lakers basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on Denver. Tip is scheduled for 7 o'clock. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like a rare hologram trading card that you become totally obsessed with, shining like the designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it all. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, Will Brinson, CBS Sports, is expected to join us momentarily. We need his reaction to this past weekend. We'll look ahead to championship weekend as well. What is a catch in the NFL? We will discuss with Will Brinson coming up momentarily. I mean, for me, maybe it was because we were working the Aztec game during was it Broncos-Bills? To me, the game of the weekend was the Bears. Now, Broncos-Bills was a great game, but that Bears thing was something else, the way that finished. And credit to the Rams. Credit to the Rams for winning somehow. I thought against all odds that they found a way to win that game in overtime. All right, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports, back with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Always appreciate Will's time and insight. We were just talking about this. I mean, there's a lot to react to over the weekend, but just in general, the Bears-Rams finish. I mean, we've seen so many crazy NFL games over the years and playoff games. Even this postseason, there's been insanity. What was it like from your seat watching the way that played out? The ridiculous fourth down play for the Bears to send it to overtime, then the Rams withstanding that and finding a way to win.
Yeah, it was, as an ardent Rams supporter,
Yep.
It was obviously terrifying because this is exactly what you're scared of with the Bears, and that I think Caleb Williams, even if we see what happens one year and we assume, all right, this is just the future of this team, and like we saw, it's not true, right? I mean, Jaden Daniels in Washington obviously take a big step back this year, but I do think with the combination of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, you have to at least be scared if the Bears continue, scared of the Bears, I guess, if the Bears continue to develop guys on both sides of the ball, because Caleb Williams is showing, that sort of Mahomesian quality that people ascribed to him before the draft. And that, it's not always going to, be this perfectly executed offensive game plan where the Bears take over games and just salt things away in the second half. But when it's not, this is why Mahomes won a bunch of games. They have a coach who can call plays to get them back in position to try to win the game, and then a quarterback who can just make insane things happen. He did it so much this year that it's like, that can't be your baseline for winning games, going out there and creating magic every week. But when you have that belief and ability in the quarterback to do it, it does give you a stronger sense of not giving up in the fourth quarter, of fighting for every possession, and believing that your quarterback is like the Iceman. He can show up and find a way to win. So yeah, I mean, that was always the fear with the Bears, is that they let them hang around and they will make you pay.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Will Brinson with us right now, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports. By the way, when Caleb Williams is going backwards, I'm like, where are you going? Like in the fourth, you're running in the wrong direction, dude. And to make that throw off the back foot. And again, it's like, we talked about this before. I'm trying to remember, there's other examples in sports where you have these remarkable moments. I go back to, there's a baseball example, Rajai Davis with the Indians homered before the Cubs would win the World Series. It would be remembered so differently if the Indians won that World Series. Or I go back to Freddie Mitchell. I'm aging Freddie Mitchell with the Eagles, 4th and 26, but then they lost the next week.
Yeah.
So it's like you'd remember it differently, but it was an incredible play. To switch gears to Buffalo and Denver, we can get into obviously the impact of the injury to Bo Nix. But any part of you surprised with the Sean McDermott news, or was it expected if they didn't reach the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think if they had I think the problem is we talked about it for like the last couple of weeks, really like the last like month plus, where no Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow in the AFC side of things. So you've got a bunch of newcomers. You got a lot of first-time quarterbacks. Obviously, Bo Nix had been there twice, but the path was in theory wide open for the Bills to go win it if Josh Allen became Superman. And I think falling short of that, clearly ownership had just decided, okay, we have this guy we drafted in 2018 who is an otherworldly human being. Like he's not really even mortal, right? Yep. The things he can do on the football field are so different. And it's like, should we have a coach who's a really good coach who wins a lot of games, who has a very high floor, and even if it's just, part of the playoff thing where you can't break through, because Andy Reid did break through until he got Mahomes and he got into Kansas City. It's a little unfair, but at the same time, it's like, if you own the Bills and you can't make the Super Bowl even this year when you don't have all those guys like in the playoffs, you have to kind of think, like, should we move on and try to find somebody who can elevate our ceiling? And I think that's what they're going to do, because if you're John Harbaugh, you're like, man, I kind of wish I'd waited a week, waited till Monday to pick a job, because if you take the job with Josh Allen, you just have to be competent, and he's going to get you to the playoffs. He's going to put you in a position where if you make the right decisions as a coach in the postseason, you have a really good chance of making a Super Bowl run. And it's immediately just one of the best jobs in football becoming open because Josh Allen is on the roster. So I guess I think you can always hire something worse. You can always get something worse, but you're going to bring in really attractive candidates because of that. It's just like, yeah, I get it, because it felt like Sean McDermott and sort of the way that he coached. Like, I think they're going to get an offensive back for sure, but just the way that he, unless they go get like Belichick and he brings in their seat or something, but like the way that he coached just kind of always tapped the upside a little bit, because he wanted to, he brings in Joe Brady, and they decided to just be a run-heavy team and let Josh Allen throw less. It just feels like the way that he coached maybe capped their upside a little bit.
That's good perspective. Will Brinson with us right now, San Diego Sports 760. Where are you in the NFL catch rule? And this comes up every 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 seasons. There's always going to be, it's a game literally of centimeters and inches, and the difference between winning and losing in this league is like one play. Do you feel like more clarification is necessary based on some of the stuff we saw this past weekend, or do you feel like it was ruled properly?
Yeah, I think they really need to get. The problem is they need to get everybody on the same page, and maybe that even means like full time. It's just that you have these officials who are ruling different things, and then the league is coming in from on high in New York and saying, nope, that was a catch, or no, that wasn't a catch. And I do think, just like as it has been in the past, the fans watching are thinking, okay, I know what a catch is. That's a catch, and then all of a sudden it's not a catch, and the interception in the Buffalo, Denver game is it's like just wild, because it's like, it's not like once in a lifetime or anything like that. That's probably going to happen again. Maybe this coming week. Who knows? But it's just like the guy kind of makes a catch and survives the ground, but then if it's not intercepted, that ball is coming loose, and I think that's sort of where the NFL ended up on. I do think they'll look at it a little bit, just because they made such a big deal out of this football move and surviving the ground and all those things, where it just created a little bit of confusion with not only the fans, but maybe more importantly, the referees who are refereeing all these different games. And it just becomes significantly more pronounced in the postseason. So wouldn't be surprised at all if the competition committee, which, by the way, Mike Tomlin out, John Harbaugh changing jobs. I don't know if that gets him off the competition committee or not, but Tomlin was a big voice on there. A little bit of change over there. So we could definitely see some addendums to the rule, at least this offseason.
How do you feel about what we're going to see this weekend? Obviously, Patriots, Broncos without Bo Nix, and Rams, Seahawks. Of course, the Seahawks coming off that beatdown of San Francisco. Can the Broncos manage their way through this at home, or is that extremely unlikely? I know they're a 5 or 6 point underdog at home, and then you have Seattle, not even a 3-point favorite at home against LA. What do you make of what we're going to see this Sunday?
So I think Denver is going to be better with City, as they call him, than people think. And I mean, he's like Sean Payton signed him as like his first free agent when Sean Payton got to Denver. So he's just been his kind of quality backup that he sort of trusts in these spots if he needs him. You know, he's similar. I mean, I think he and Bodix like played together at Auburn, maybe.
That's crazy.
Like how
like
weird the NIL world is in college. But I think you know, he can do enough of his legs, and they're gonna go out there. They're gonna try to run the ball a bunch. They're gonna use his instead of his legs. They're gonna have him, you know, try to convert these third downs by throwing horizontally and Sean Payton scheming up on offense and then playing defense to win. And I think defense is good enough where, you know, they can give Drake Mason fits and hang around it if they can produce some offense. But if they don't slow down the Patriots offense early on and then Stidham has to drop back a ton, they're in trouble. On the Rams side of things, you know, the Seahawks, it kind of comes down to Sam Darnold, I guess, which is sort of like a No Bleep Sherlock exclusive. You know, if he turns the ball over 4 times and has one of those games where we've sort of been expecting it, but then maybe we feel like we aren't expecting it lately, it's going to be tough for the Seahawks to win. Now, if he plays well and they can run the ball with Kenneth Walker, no Charbonnet, obviously, but they can slow down the Seahawks, the Rams offense, run the ball well, and Sam Darnold can hit some play action shots. You know, yeah, I mean that should be just a great game. It really should. Like that NFC Championship game should be just like out of this world good, because the last time we saw them with the shootout on Thursday night or whatever, and it was or maybe it was Monday night, whatever it was. But it was just an incredible game between these two teams. The Rams had control of it, and the Rams have given Sam Darnold fits. So I think the Rams find a way to win, but certainly the Seahawks should be favored. It all comes down to Darnold, I think. Does Darnold prevent himself from making giant mistakes? And if he does, then it's going to be a dogfight right down to the end.
That was the ridiculous game just a few weeks ago, right? In Seattle, Rams.
Yeah.
See, that game was one of the games of the year, right? Probably one of the top 3 games.
It was definitely a top 3 game. The first one was Darnold throws 4 picks, and the Seahawks still had like a 52, 55-yard field goal to win and missed. And then the next one was like just the insane flurry comeback where Rashid returns a punt, and then all hell breaks loose.
That's exactly right. Will, we are looking forward to it. We appreciate the insight. Let's catch up next week and discuss our matchup for the Super Bowl, which is crazy that we're at the Super Bowl.
I'm for it. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy that we're here. It's crazy.
Insane. Thanks, Will.
Bye, bye. See you, man.
All right, we'll react to that. Plus, Kevin Vance, San Diego State baseball's first-year head coach. They've got an event coming up. Their season gets underway in a couple of weeks. He's going to join us live at 5 p.m. We're here until 6 on San Diego Sports 760. All right, the Aztecs back on the road tomorrow night. They'll take on Grand Canyon. In that atmosphere, their student section, it's going to be loud. It's going to be a good environment. San Diego State trying to get to 8-0 in the Mountain West tomorrow night at Grand Canyon. Tip-off at 8, pregame coverage at 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Kevin Vance will join us in about 10 or so minutes. He is San Diego State's baseball head coach. They've got a big event coming up. Their season will get underway in early February, and Kevin Vance is the first-year head coach at San Diego State. He'll join us coming up in about 10 minutes. If you miss Miles Bird, speaking of the Aztecs basketball team, if you miss Miles Bird postgame, he had this ridiculous game on Saturday against New Mexico where he had 21 points and 8 rebounds and 4 blocks and 3 assists and 3 steals. He did something that only he has ever done in an Aztec uniform over the last 30 years, compiling that stat line. If you missed that conversation, you'll hear it coming up at 5:30. He was ridiculous the other night in that win.
The blocks was the craziest thing.
4 blocks.
Because he had like all the team's blocks pretty much.
all of them. He did.
Goon didn't have any. Compton didn't have any. It was all him.
100%. 4 blocks in that win for San Diego State over New Mexico. To put a bow on our conversation there with Will Brinson, I mean, I tend to agree with his overall assessment of like the Buffalo Sean McDermott situation. It's like, okay, is it going to be hard to win 3 straight road playoff games and get to the Super Bowl? Yeah. But without Mahomes, Burrow, like the path existed. You would have had to beat, Jacksonville, which they did. It was a bit of a coin flip game. Then Denver, they had plenty of opportunities to win that game. And then they would have, I guess, had to go to New England to potentially finish it off. But it's like, yeah, you lost a coin flip game, but that's how the NFL is. It's like, you're going to have to win those games. And he referred to Josh Allen, and I agree with him. It's like, this guy's special. This isn't just like a good quarterback, or like he's doing things that nobody else is doing. And if you can't capitalize with him at quarterback, then they're going to go find someone at head coach that can capitalize with him. So it's like, Josh Allen, there's a window here. You're going to have to do it at some point in the next handful of years. Sean McDermott had plenty of opportunities. Now there'll be someone else that tries to get them to the Super Bowl.
In a way, it's almost like, non-Packer fans like to say to the Packers, when they brag about how, we've had 2 quarterbacks and they've both been Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And it's like, yeah, and you only have 2 Super Bowls to show for it. It's just like you should have way more. It just feels like it's a waste of you having 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play and you only have 2 Super Bowls. This kind of feels similar with Jared Allen to where
Josh Allen
or just I keep doing that. I've been doing that like all season. That's the Vikings guy.
Yeah.
But it's similar with him to where he keeps getting to the point and his quarterback play is fine. It's just things keep happening that he's just not winning the games.
I mean, he's 8 seasons in, which isn't ridiculous. I mean, we've seen examples of, the John Elways. I mean, there's examples of quarterbacks that, you're going to have a better second half of your career than first. He's only 29. So he might be able to do this again for the next 8 or 9 years, but who's to say it's getting any easier though? Like, I feel like it's a big challenge when Lamar Jackson is out there and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, let alone the NFC, even if you get to the Super Bowl. So it's like, it was there for you. Yes, it was a tough putt. You were on the road in the postseason because you didn't play as well in the regular season. But listen, I think Josh Allen probably has another 6 or 8 prime years. He'll probably be in his prime through, let's say, age 36. Something like that. So that's another 6, 7, 8 years, which is terrific. But again, he didn't do it in his 20s. So now who's going to be the coach that can take the next step with Josh Allen? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. Buffalo's moving into a new stadium next year. They again have been in position. They've been in the postseason a ton with Josh Allen. They have 8 playoff wins with Josh Allen, which is a good number, but they also have 8 playoff losses. So it hasn't been good enough. And we'll see if they get over the hump next year. I'm not convinced next year's easier for Buffalo in the AFC. Like, Baltimore wasn't in the playoffs. Kansas City wasn't in the playoffs. Cincinnati wasn't in the playoffs. Now, all 3 could be in the postseason next year. All 3 of those quarterbacks could be in the playoffs next year. So I don't know if it's going to get easier or not for Josh Allen.
It depends though, because we've seen. Look at the Bears. They get a head coach in there that can change the mindset of the organization. It can do a lot. They get somebody in there that maybe gets it out of their head that who cares if Mahomes and them are in the playoffs? We'll just beat them.
Right.
It's like we don't need to sit here and plan our Super Bowl strategy around all the other good teams in the league not making the playoffs. It's like, we're a good team. We can beat these teams.
Yeah, at some point they may have to. You're right. That maybe ultimately the way Josh Allen breaks through is by beating Patrick Mahomes.
Well, and in terms of like the home field advantage and stuff, he's going to have his shot because the NFL is going to schedule Bills Chiefs in the regular season every single year until those guys retire. So he's going to have a chance. You just have to win that game. So then when it gets time to the end of the year, you have that tiebreaker and you can actually have home field instead of having to complain about always having to play 3 road playoff games and everything else. You'll have the opportunities there. They just have to take advantage.
All right. On the other side, we're going to catch up with San Diego State's new baseball coach, Kevin Vance. They've got a big event coming up in about a week or so. Plus, their season gets underway in mid-February. So Kevin Vance is going to join us coming up in about 5 minutes. Then we're going to hear from Miles Byrd in the 5 o'clock hour as well. San Diego State's standout senior guard, Miles Byrd, coming off a big game and a big win over New Mexico. You'll hear our post-game conversation coming up at 5:30. We are here until 6 tonight. Don't go anywhere. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by eBay. San Diego State is back on the road tomorrow night when they take on Grand Canyon. Our pregame coverage begins at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Golden State Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has a torn ACL, and he will be out for the rest of the season. In Major League Baseball news, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran were both inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame today. Last night, Indiana defeated Miami 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it back in 1894. And tonight we have Lakers basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on the Nuggets. Tip is scheduled for 7 o'clock. Imagine what you can find on eBay, like that rare hologram trading card that you've become totally obsessed with, shiny like that designer handbag of your dreams. eBay has it. They even have the perfect parts that will fit your car. Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay.
All right, let's kick off the final hour here on San Diego Sports 760 with San Diego State's first-year baseball head coach. Kevin Vance is with us right now on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. They've got a big event coming up. They've got their season coming up. It'll get underway in the middle of February. But first, they've got Dinner on the Diamond, which is coming up, I believe, a week from Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, January 31st. This is going to be under the lights at Tony Gwynn Stadium. So first of all, Coach, appreciate you hopping on and tell our listeners a little bit more about what you have coming up in about a week and a half at Tony Gwynn Stadium.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
it's going to be a fun night on Saturday, 2 weeks from Saturday, the 31st. We'll have good amount of some legends around San Diego. Some alums: Quentin Berry, Bud Black, Chris Gwynn, Justin Masterson, Steven Strasburg, and then we got a pretty cool little panel of just San Diego guys. If you were my age in San Diego and you watched the Padres, we got a pro panel of Klesko, Loretta, Nady, and Nevin. So kind of a throwback there to early 2000s, and so pretty cool for me just to be around those guys. But it's a big event to fundraise money for us and upgrade the facility and contribute to our NIL fund for the players.
All right, so
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I apologize. So this is Dinner on the Diamond. Again, more information, you can make a reservation at goaztecs.com. This is Saturday, January 31st, in just over a week and a half. Saturday, January 31st, under the lights at Tony Gwynn Stadium. Guests include, as Kevin just told us, Steven Strasburg and Buddy Black and many more. And you can make reservations right now at goaztecs.com. You talked about the proceeds supporting your program. Tell us about that. I mean, everyone knows about the impact of rev share and NIL on sports like football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and others. What impact does it have on your program moving forward as you transition from the Mountain West to the Pac-12?
Yeah, it's huge. Baseball has always been, the 11.7 and a little bit behind in terms of scholarship. So this is an opportunity to kind of even to work that all out and get us up to where we need to be. It's different from basketball, different from football for sure in terms of, guys aren't coming here and making a ton of money to play. We're just trying to make it more affordable overall for all of our guys. We still got guys that are grinding and, on partial scholarship, and that's the reality of where baseball is. So we're just trying to close that gap to get it to, the long-term goal is really to get the whole team on a full ride and just make it free, a good experience to get better and win some games. And going to the Pac-12, like you said, that's going to be huge for our success, to get the right players, to keep them here, and allow them to get better in an environment where they don't have to worry about their bill and stuff like that. So it's great for the game, I think. Baseball's kind of, shifted towards a little bit more of a white collar sport. It's pretty expensive, and I think this is a good step for the sport. As crazy as some people might think I'm crazy for saying that, I think it evens the playing field for baseball, and there's a huge opportunity for us.
It's interesting. Kevin Vance with us right now, San Diego State's first year head coach of the baseball program. And again, if you're looking for more information on this upcoming event, Saturday, January 31st, Dinner on the Diamond, you can do it at goaztecs.com. You can also find single game tickets and season tickets for Aztec baseball at goaztecs.com. Let's talk about your program that you've taken over about 6 or so months ago. You'll open play in the middle of February at Tony Gwynn Stadium against LIU. How do you feel about your offseason and the roster you've put together heading into this season?
Feel great. It's we're in a good spot right now. Good kids. The team is really gelling. They work hard and they're bought into what we're doing. So that's all you can ask for on that front. I think we got enough talent for sure. We got an experienced lineup, some older guys that have been around and done it, and some, it's a good mix of transfers and guys that are returning. So on the mound, I think we got the juice. We got enough bullets out there to kind of piece it together. And they're making my job hard, figuring out who's going to be the weekend staff. So I think that speaks to our depth, but it's going to be a fun team to watch. Our lineup's going to be really tough. Not going to give away at bats and play really good defense. I think there's a lot to be excited for. They're bought into our two-strike approach, doing things the right way. And, can't but help mention Tony Gwynn. His approach of, obviously we all know he barely swung and missed and rarely struck out. And that's something that we want to carry on the legacy of. And our guys are bought into that. And so it'll be a fun team to watch. Whether we're up 10, down 10, we're going to come at you and keep going. So come on out. It will be a fun team to watch for sure.
Single game tickets, season tickets at GoAztecs.com. You mentioned Tony Gwynn's legacy. Of course, there's that baseball tournament, the Legacy, coming up in February in San Diego when San Diego State faces BYU, Utah, and USD in successive days in late February. Now you're a San Diegan. You played at Torrey Pines. Yep. So obviously getting back home has to be appealing. But what is it about this program specifically where there has been a lot of success, still looking for that breakthrough in an NCAA tournament? What is it about San Diego State baseball specifically that, in your opinion, is on the come moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, people have said it before. I really do believe it's a sleeping giant. There's been success in the Strasburg years and a couple regionals since then. But, I think just getting quality talent here, and developing and getting guys better that's our opportunity. And I think with the current state of college baseball, we're in a really good spot. The Pac-12 is going to be a number 5 RPI conference in baseball. So calling it the new Power 5 and, so just having that opportunity, having a really good schedule, playing really good teams, it's attractive. We can get good teams to come here and play us, like you mentioned in the Tony Gwynn legacy. So big plans for let's make it a tough schedule, play the best teams in the country and compete at a national level. I think we can certainly get the talent here, and I know we have the coaching staff to do it. Our coaches, hitting coach Tyler Holt, Kevin Heiss, Blake McDonald, those guys they're getting after it, and I'm doing the pitching with the Jamison King, and we gel really well. The players, they love the experience here, and I think that's really what our opportunity is the word spreads fast amongst the players, and I think guys will want to transfer here to come experience our culture and get better. And the proof is in the pudding. We can kind of show that we can get you better, and it's going to be a fun environment, and we're going to win some games. And the weather helps too, and it's a great school, obviously, but we don't just want to recruit for the weather. It's about the experience in the baseball, and number one is player development, and that's what we're here to do. And I think that sells itself.
San Diego State head baseball coach Kevin Vance with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. So I remember seeing this offseason, all this, like a slew of players from the Power 5, so to speak, whether it was Oregon State. You got at least a handful of players from Oregon State. I know you were previously at Arizona, a couple of Wildcats as well. How have you sold it? What has made it appealing for players that have had success at programs like Oregon State and Arizona to join you here in San Diego?
Yeah, it's been cool to have those guys from a lot of winning programs. So they know what it takes to win. And, coming here, they're just everyone's different. There's a couple guys that are looking for more of an opportunity to play. Maybe they had a couple guys in front of them, and everyone's using the portal. So there's guys that are being added everywhere. And, they saw the opportunity to come here and get better. I think it always goes back to that. I think player development is sadly a rarity in college baseball these days. So just the opportunity to come here and get better and get on the field, in a beautiful place and compete for championships. And it was a tough sell, right? When I got the job, there was about 14 guys on the roster. And so it was a tough task. But it all started to kind of shake out when we got those Oregon State guys. And, I think my experience at Arizona, just kind of being around those guys, and, they played against us. They knew who I was. And so there was some familiarity with a lot of these guys. And, I had Blake McDonald. Blake McDonald is our volunteer assistant here, and he played with a couple guys. He's young enough he's in his second year done playing, so he knew some of the guys. So it was a little bit of word of mouth, and just showing that we're going to be new school in terms of technology when it comes to the pitchers. Right, I can read a TrackMan pretty well and design an arsenal and nerd out with the best of them, and I think that's a big appeal as well in terms of development. Just being progressive in terms of player development and having the tools to do that. And, Strauss has been huge for that. He donated the TrackMan. And so there's a lot of good things and a lot of different ways to do it and get guys here, but those are kind of the main things.
Really good insight. Kevin Vance, San Diego State baseball head coach, with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. I know you have a full Mountain West season to get to here in 2026, but I did want to you mentioned what the future of the Pac-12 looks like and how it's going to be a premier baseball league. Can you touch on that further? Because obviously people are aware of what Oregon State has done. Then there's, I think, Dallas Baptist is in. They've had a terrific baseball history. Gonzaga has had a lot of success recently in baseball. We know about San Diego State's history. You got the Mountain West, which isn't going to be easy. But how are you looking at kind of the ramp up to what's to come in the Pac-12 when you all of a sudden are in one of the better baseball leagues in America?
Right. Yeah. We got to keep getting better for sure. We got to bring in the right players. Having the Pac, going from the Mountain West to the Pac, first of all, our mindset doesn't change at all. We're not overlooking the Mountain West. Yeah. Our goal is to win a championship, win the last Mountain West championship, and bring that hardware home. But going into the Pac, it's going to be a higher level of baseball for sure. We're going to see better arms. So we're just going to have to up our level of training and up our level of talent and continue to work every day and get better. There's no other way around it. There's no magic pill other than getting better every day, focused on what we need to do each day, and just stack good days. Everyone's different and everyone's got a different mindset going on, but we all got to be moving in the same direction and thinking the same in terms of what it takes to win. So we work really hard on that. We work on the mental side of the game a ton, and preparing guys for big environments. I think that'll be something to look forward to, is playing in some big environments. Oregon State, BBU, all of them. I think all the schools in the new Pac-12 will draw well. I think it'll help us in terms of how much we draw and just creating a fun environment to play in, and high pressure, high stakes. And so we got to prepare ourselves mentally, physically for all of that.
I want to say San Diego State's last trip to the NCAA tournament was in 2017 at Oregon State. I remember being on the call for a couple of games. I want to say against LSU and Northwestern State, but that was up at Oregon State. They did not play the Beavers that year, but San Diego State was in the tournament back in it was either 2017 or 2018. It had to be 2018. It had to be 2018. The last time the Aztecs were in the tournament. Coach, appreciate you taking time for us. Again, for our listeners, hopefully some of you can make it out. Dinner on the Diamond coming up a week from Saturday on January 31st. This is at Tony Gwynn Stadium. Tons of San Diego baseball stars and Aztecs will be there, including Steven Strasburg, Buddy Black, and many more. More information available at goaztecs.com. And then if you want to see the Aztecs in person this year, single game tickets and season tickets also available at goaztecs.com. So, Kevin, thank you so much for taking time for us, and we look forward to seeing you out at Tony Gwynn Stadium in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Go Aztecs.
Great stuff from Kevin Vance, who again starred at Torrey Pines and is entering his first year on the Mesa. All right, on the other side, we're reacting to where we started the show. Padres tied to some veteran starters. We will get into that coming up on the other side. Plus, we've got a new Hall of Fame class in baseball for 2026 that we'll discuss. Plus, you're going to hear from Miles Bird, San Diego State basketball star. After that New Mexico win on Saturday, you'll hear from Miles coming up at 5:30. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, we'll hear from Aztec guard Miles Byrd off that win over New Mexico on Saturday. You'll hear our post-game conversation coming up at 5:30. If you just heard that promo from Colin Cowherd talking about Indiana winning the national championship, it's where we started the show today, but I tied it back to the Padres, which I do with everything, but I actually think it makes sense. I think it's relevant and resonates. It's like my premise, my takeaway last night. I'm watching this play out. I know Indiana was favored in the end, but this is Indiana. And if Indiana can win a national championship in football, then trust me, the Padres can win a World Series in baseball, even with the headwinds. Headwinds being Dodgers spending prowess. They've won the last 2 World Series. You think Indiana didn't deal with headwinds 2 years ago when they were among the most inept football programs in the history of the sport? Like, if they can figure it out, but John, the Padres have to play the Dodgers, but John, the Dodgers have more money. Well, guess what? 2 years ago, Indiana was not in the same stratosphere as other teams in their conference. You can't compare historically, or even 2 years ago, Indiana to Ohio State or Michigan, a program that was coming off a national championship, or Oregon with its resources, or Penn State with its tradition and resources. Like, that's where we were 2 years ago. And 2 years later, Indiana's got the last laugh. I'm not telling you the Padres are winning the World Series next year. I'm just telling you it's possible. Like, it is possible. If Indiana can win a national championship in football and gets the playoff in each of its first 2 years under Curt Cignetti, then it is possible. It is possible for the Padres to not just get to the postseason, but make a run. I mean, teams do that, in fact. It's not an inevitability that we're going to get to the postseason and the Dodgers are going to win every year in the postseason. Sports do not work like that. The greatest runs in the history of baseball do not include teams winning 5 consecutive World Series, by and large. They've won 2 straight. They've absolutely been the dominant player in the sport. It's not going to be easy. But in all sports, of all of them, in baseball, the equalizer is the postseason. You play a best of 3 or best of 5 or best of 7 series. There is no guarantee the quote-unquote better team is winning a best of 3 or best of 5 series. It doesn't work like that. And look no further than the last 2 postseasons when the Dodgers were facing elimination in both of those postseasons, whether it was Game 4 here in 2024, later Game 5 at Dodger Stadium, which they won, or this past year at Rogers Center, or whatever it's called now, in Toronto, where they were on a razor's edge. Now, to their credit, they won those games, and they've won the last 2 World Series. But just because they've done it previously doesn't not mean it's an inevitability moving forward. And honestly, coming away from last night, I'm like, it gives me hope that, like, the impossible is kind of possible if you're a Padres fan. This isn't, 2014 when there's just no shot. Like, the Padres 10, 12 years ago, no, they're not competing to win a World Series. But fast forward 10 or 12 years later, a little bit like Indiana, when you invest, when you throw resources behind it, when you give it a little bit of star power, you can build something, and they have built something. Has it been disappointing, the finishes the last few years? Yeah. I mean, 2022 was terrific going through the Dodgers, but then, of course, couldn't get through the Phillies and lost in 5 games. That was disappointing. And then the 2024 postseason was heartbreaking the way it finished. And then there's last year where it's kind of deja vu all over again. You're in a best of 3 series and you have a chance to move on in Game 3. And once again, you get nothing out of your offense. Like, you didn't get anything out of your offense in the postseason late in 2024. But, like, they're getting to postseason. So they're putting themselves in position. And at some point, if you can keep getting to the postseason, you're going to break through. And that's what you got to believe if you are a Padres fan. And I think it's realistic to believe that. I really do. Again, would I sell that 12 years ago? No. Would I tell you, coming off a 70-92 season, trust me, this is the year? No, of course I wouldn't. But they're not coming off a 70-92 season. And they haven't sold off all their parts. And they don't have a bottom 8 payroll in the sport. And they don't have, a 42-year-old Manny Machado. He's 33. And they got Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill in their primes. And they have, I think, at least a good front of the rotation. And they have a brilliant bullpen to work with. So I'm looking at a glass half full today. I get it. It's January. It's not June. It's January. It's not October. And it'll play out. But there's reasons to believe that the Padres will compete for a playoff spot again in 2026, like they did in 25 and 24 and 22 and 20. And if they do compete for a playoff spot, I'm going to head into the postseason believing that they have a shot, just like we did in 2024 and 2025. So, again, who would have ever thought in our lifetimes, if you've ever watched college football, you never would have said Indiana. You would have picked 80 programs before Indiana. I kid you not. You would have picked programs outside of the Power Five 5 years ago. You would have told me Boise State. You would have told me Memphis. Maybe locally somebody would have said San Diego State, right? But you wouldn't have said Indiana. There's people that would have picked Purdue over Indiana 5 years ago, or Northwestern over Indiana, or Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, to its credit, is a little bit like Indiana over the last couple of years. So, again, they're different sports. I'm not saying that it's completely comparable, Major League Baseball and college football. They're not, but I'm just telling you, like, you can believe. Like, if you're a fan of Indiana, you were thinking more about their basketball team winning a national championship, and they've been down for 25 years, than their football team even participating in a playoff. I don't even know how many bowl games they ever had prior to 2 years ago. Maybe a few in the history of the program. So anyway, hope springs eternal. And that's how I feel here locally in San Diego. We'll hear from Miles Bird on the other side. Aztecs pick up a marquee home win over New Mexico behind a sensational game for Miles Bird on Saturday night, an 83-79 Aztec win. If you missed my postgame conversation with Miles Bird, you'll hear it on the other side. We have Brent's back page coming up as well, here until 6 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by the West Automotive Group. San Diego State is on the road tomorrow night to take on Grand Canyon. Our pregame coverage will begin with Fletch at 7:00, and John will have the tip after 8. In NBA news, Warriors swingman Jimmy Butler has a torn ACL, and he will be out for the remainder of the NBA regular season. Last night, Indiana defeated Miami 27-21 to win the national championship. The Hoosiers became only the second team in NCAA history to go 16-0. Yale did it way back in 1894. And in Major League Baseball news, Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones were both elected to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame this afternoon. Tonight, we got Lakers basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when the team goes on the road to take on Denver. Tip is scheduled for 7:00. At West Automotive Group, their philosophy is never to put money ahead of people, and their master certified technicians will only perform repairs that you really need. Visit westautomotivegroup.com to book your appointment today. That's westautomotivegroup.com.
All right, Brent's back page coming up. Again, I will be in Phoenix tomorrow getting ready for San Diego State and Grand Canyon. It is a showdown in the Mountain West. Grand Canyon coming off a win over Utah State this past weekend at home. They won by 10 against a ranked team that had previously been undefeated in the league, and now San Diego State goes to Grand Canyon. So a challenge opportunity for the Aztecs tomorrow night at 8. Pre-game coverage at 7. I'll be on the air tomorrow afternoon from 2 to 4. And then J-Riff, Jonathan Rifkin, will be here from 4 to 6. And then you can catch me on the call tomorrow night, 8 p.m. from Phoenix for San Diego State and Grand Canyon. Now, we touched on the Aztecs getting to 7-0 in the Mountain West. They did so by dispatching New Mexico on Saturday, built a 15-point lead, then overcame a 2-point deficit in the final minute. The big play, by the way, in that win was New Mexico elected to intentionally foul Miles Heide, a 38% free throw shooter. He had a 1-and-1, down 2 with under a minute to play. He sank both free throws. Later, Miles Bird had a big steal. BJ Davis, a big, like 14-foot jumper off the left elbow, kind of a leaner, just leaning in. Aztecs took a lead. Reese Dixon Waters had hit a couple of free throws late, and the Aztecs prevail 83-79. Miles Bird had a sensational game, and I had the chance to catch up with him postgame.
Miles, I'm looking at this box score, and I'm telling you, you have a way of completing a box score unlike anyone in college basketball. I was just saying this. I'm sure Richard will look it up. How many players, this is where I'm starting with you, how many players do you think nationally this year have had 21 or more points in a game, 8 or more rebounds in a game, 3 or more assists in a game, 4 or more blocks in a game, 3 or more steals in a game? That's what you did here tonight. That's your unique. That's like your DNA. That's who you are as a player, right? You just impacted a game in so many ways.
Flying around. That's what I call it. Just out there playing with energy.
I mean, I looked at the totals at the end of the game, and San Diego State had 4 blocks. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Magoon's in there and Farrow. And I'm like, wait a second. Miles Bird had all 4 of the blocks tonight for San Diego State. Let's get to down the stretch and then go backwards. You're trailing 79-77. Eric Olin and New Mexico intentionally foul Miles Heide because it's a 1-and-1. He's 8 of 21 from the free throw line this year. Can you discuss how critically important those 2 shots were for Heide?
I mean, that was a play of the game. Yeah. If you ask me, anybody else on the team, that's a play of the game. Heide, especially for percentage-wise, he's not shooting the highest percentage, but, Heide works every single day on his free throws. He's a confident player. We all believe in him, and for him to step up and hit back-to-back threes and with a kind of a calm demeanor too. Like, he just walked up like this is what he does and just knocked them both down. That's huge for our team, huge for the program in general.
And then down the stretch, like New Mexico was having success in the second half on offense, but you got timely stops when you needed them. Yep. Then I'm thinking about when it's 79 all, it's becoming a late shot clock situation. It's tied at 79 late in the game. BJ Davis has the ball. He gets downhill. Can you kind of describe what you're thinking in that moment? He's come through time and time again in those clutch spots, right?
I mean, every time BJ has the ball late in the game, situation like that, I'm very confident. And especially for BJ, who couldn't play a lot this game just because of foul trouble, to, stay in it mentally and be able to hit a tough shot like that late just goes to show the type of player he is, the type of person he is.
How is it going right now for you? It just feels like you've gained confidence. Mm-hmm. Everything's coming easier for you. You scored 21 points in this game. You hit all these threes as well. What's it like for you out there right now?
My body's feeling good. I mean, obviously a little bruises and stuff like that. But I told them upstairs, I feel like I'm an everyday guy. And what goes around comes around. And I've been putting in the work since summer. since before summer. Honestly, I didn't take a break this whole entire summer, so I knew it would come to me. I just got to keep my head down and continue to come in with the right mindset every day to practice, and hopefully, it continues to happen like this in games.
What does it take to win a game like this? You're doing it time and time again. These are close games that you're finding ways to win. You knew you'd get a punch at some point from New Mexico. It came early in the second half. What did it take collectively to find a way?
Just mental toughness, maturity, timely plays, like Dutch was saying earlier this week. We need to make more timely plays. Like Heidi's was a timely play, my steal was a timely play, BJ's jumper was a timely play. So, just being basketball players, being who we are, and trusting our work.
7-0 in the Mountain West, but so much work still to be done.
Yep.
You guys are 3-0 on the road. You're going to Phoenix to take on Grand Canyon.
Big one on Tuesday.
They just beat Utah State.
Yep.
What does it take as a player to just turn the page, get to practice, get to the next game, not worry about what happened previously, not worry about what's to come, and just focus in on what's in front of you?
We don't know right now. We might be 7-0 in the standings, but we got to treat every game like it's its own game. We know the type of crowd GCU is going to bring. I played there my sophomore year.
That's right.
One of the best atmospheres in college basketball. So, we got to focus on that, focus on prepping. We're going to have off day tomorrow. So everybody got to get in, get our bodies right, so we can come in on Monday and be ready to work.
Also late, Reese Dixon Waters in this game had the critical rebound with 2.4 seconds, then big time free throws.
Yeah, that's Reese.
Reese. It's amazing because the most impressive part I'm thinking about tonight, it's dealing with the adversity because everything's not perfect. It never is. It wasn't for Reese, but he hit the free throws. BJ Davis earlier, Dutch talked about it. I think he had the turnover in the backcourt. It led to the fast break points, but he turns to the next play. Do you feel like collectively as a team, you're doing a better job at kind of moving on to the next play?
Yep. I think, it's a mixture of your teammates having your back. I know when I turned the ball over, I was frustrated. And, during one of the dead ball huddles, everybody told me not to worry about it, next play. So just having your teammates back, we said the same thing to BJ when he turned the ball over. So, just not weighing the mistakes too much on what could possibly happen on the other end. I missed the shot I was pretty frustrated with late in the game. Stayed mentally focused and got that steal late. So, we gotta treat every possession like it's its own possession, just like we gotta treat every game like it's its own game.
What do you feel like has been playing out over the last month plus that's put this team, more on the path that you're currently on? Is that just the course it happens over the course of a season, or what is it that has you guys seemingly all aligned?
It's multiple things, I think just having each other's back, that's one of the things. Obviously every Brian Dutcher team gets better as the season continues. So we maybe just didn't start as well as we wanted to this year. Obviously that's a lot of opinions were drawn from that about how this team's ceiling could be. But we trust each other. We trust what the coaches are saying, and I think we come into practice every day with the right mindset. And that's just going to show as the season continues to grow. Some teams kind of drop off as the season continues. I feel like we're one of the teams that's just going to keep getting better and better.
Miles, congratulations. It's an amazing game individually, but most importantly, the team wins. Yeah. I know that's first and foremost on your mind. You guys are 7-0 in the Mountain West. You'll be in Phoenix on Wednesday night. We'll see you in Phoenix at Grand Canyon, but congrats on the win, man.
Appreciate you, John.
Hey, great stuff from Miles Bird, who's really playing some good basketball right now. I think the best basketball of his season, arguably the best basketball of his career, because he's stacking games. Like, if you look at what Miles Bird has done in Mountain West play, it's been one good game after the next. And it all starts on the defensive end with Miles. When he gets going on defense, that gets his offense going. And there are very few players in the country that are capable of putting up a stat line like he did the other night. In fact, I saw something because I'm like, who has done this? And I want to say in the last 10 years, Miles Bird's done this stat line twice, where it's 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks, 3 assists, 3 steals. He did it last year. I think in college basketball, there was one other player to do that stat line since 2013. He's done it twice. So in all of Division I, these hundreds of programs, what he's able to do and the impact he's able to have on a game is really immeasurable. And that's why I think a lot of people are high on his future as a potential NBA player, because he's a great defender. He can shoot the 3 ball. He's long. He gets into passing lanes. And right now he's trying to will this team to a second half run in the Mountain West to potentially get to an NCAA tournament. I think everything's still in front of San Diego State in terms of what's possible for this team, whether it's winning the Mountain West tournament or getting to the NCAA tournament as an at-large team. They've put themselves in this position. It wasn't the fastest start. Lost to Michigan, lost to Arizona. No shame in that. Those are 2 of the top teams in the country, but had that home loss to Troy, which was discouraging, I'm sure, for the team. And then, of course, they're written off to some extent by some, but slowly and steadily, they've built this thing back. 10-1 in their last 11 games. Their only loss coming in Phoenix to number 1 Arizona. Interestingly, it came in Phoenix, which is where the Aztecs will be tomorrow night, taking on Grand Canyon. And, Matt West race has been a pretty good one in terms of like looking at the league standings. Aztecs 7-0, Utah State 6-1, New Mexico's 5-2, Grand Canyon's right there as well. So there's so much still to be determined. So much basketball still to be played. It's only the 20th of January. I mean, we have weeks. Aztecs still have 13 regular season games to be played. So weeks and weeks and weeks in front of us. And the Aztecs, I've been saying this recently, they're kind of in position to be in position. And I believe that even more today than I would have maybe felt a week ago about it, because went to Laramie, won in a tough environment. Came home to play New Mexico. New Mexico is a really good basketball team, and San Diego State handled its business. It wasn't easy, but they handled their business and won the game by 4 after leading by as many as 15 points. And I just kind of believe in the potential of this team moving forward. Like I kind of see the ceiling, and I don't feel as if they've reached it with the Miles Birds and the Reese Dixon Waters and the Magoon Guas all kind of emerging here more recently. Magoon's been banged up. He was bothered by a hip flexor. But you got a team that I think's, starting to believe, and you got this veteran core, and you've got BJ Davis, who's been Mr. Clutch for San Diego State, and they're just seemingly putting it together right now in the middle of the season. If they can continue to do that, continue to build confidence, continue to build on their recent good play, we'll see where they can get over the final 6 or 8 weeks of the regular season. But again, the Aztecs will be in Phoenix taking on Grand Canyon tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Our pregame coverage begins at 7. It begins a critical week for the Aztecs at Grand Canyon, then at UNLV in Vegas on Saturday afternoon before coming home to take on Colorado State. That'll be a week from tomorrow at Viejas Arena. We will have tickets to give away for that game throughout the course of this week right here on San Diego Sports 760. Also, Brian Dutcher Show, by the way, this week will be Thursday at 6 p.m. So I'll have a Brian Dutcher Show for you as well between that Grand Canyon game and the UNLV game. All right, on the other side, we will get to Brent's back page. We are here until 6 p.m. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. We're also live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, final time. San Diego Sports 760 on this Tuesday. Hopefully everyone enjoyed, by the way, their long weekend. If they had it, we're back tomorrow at 2 p.m. right here on 760, getting you ready for the Aztecs and the Lopes, San Diego State and Grand Canyon. You know the Aztecs all time, whether it's here in San Diego or there in Phoenix against Grand Canyon, 1-4, which is kind of crazy. It's all in recent history. I mean, Grand Canyon's only been a Division I team for about 15 years, if that. And they scheduled a home and home. Initially, the Aztecs lost in both San Diego and in Phoenix. Then there was another home and home. Aztecs won a game handedly in San Diego, but went back to Phoenix. The year they went to the Sweet 16 with Jaden Ledee, lost that game as well. So again, historically, San Diego State just 1-4 against the Lopes, and a chance to win in Phoenix for the first time. Just 0-2, but a chance to win in Phoenix against Grand Canyon for the first time tomorrow night. Again, 8 p.m. is the tip time. Our pregame coverage will begin at 7. I'll be on the air at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Also trying to think tomorrow, there was something. Oh, yeah, we have Aztec basketball tickets to give away tomorrow. Colorado State, San Diego State back at Viejas Arena. That'll be a week from tomorrow night. We'll have a pair of tickets to give away. So join us tomorrow if you're an Aztec fan. We'll give away a pair of tickets for that. The latest of the Padres tomorrow. We'll get you ready for conference championship weekend in the NFL. It's snuck up on me, Brent. Championship weekend, the NFL. We're days away from knowing the Super Bowl. It always goes quickly.
I don't know if it snuck up on us.
Well, you're a Bears fan. You've been watching it play out all season. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's the 75-degree weather we've had for the better part of the last 3 weeks, if not warmer.
Yeah, that could be
some of that. But anyway, we'll have our Super Bowl representatives come Monday. All right, here for another 10 minutes or so. Right now, let's get to this. What have we missed?
Not a lot today. We only got a couple today. Are you a big Mardi Gras person, John?
In what capacity? Like, do I go or celebrate or watch?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say I'm a big Mardi Gras fan. Is it right now? Is it January, February?
Yeah, it's this month.
It's this month. Okay, why? What do you have for us?
Try not to sneeze. I was going to be just like my predecessor. Well, it's almost Mardi Gras time at SeaWorld.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting at. SeaWorld San Diego's Mardi Gras celebration is going to run from the 24th of this month to the 22nd of February. So it starts this week.
Okay.
They're going to have live performances, some different food items. They're going to have a live DJ, ukulele jesters, and fire dancers. There's going to be a Royal Mardi Gras parade that will take place over the park during the day. Like I said, live music, Mardi Gras performers and activities. The Sky Tower stage will host a talented SeaWorld performers donning bright costumes and celebrating Cajun culture. That they got a tunnel of lights, and they're going to have a Mardi Gras inspired food such as jambalaya and gumbo.
Okay. All right. Over at SeaWorld here in San Diego. You can celebrate Mardi Gras.
Starts on the 24th.
All right. Coming up.
And you remember last year when McDonald's kind of started to make some changes with how they made their burgers and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they're not done. McDonald's is making some more changes here in 2026. According to McDonald's, they're going to be revamping about 27,000 drive-through locations in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try and get more of them to have like the dual drive-through windows, kind of like the one over here on Arrow has, so if you can get through the drive-through quicker.
Right.
So they're going to be redesigning that. They're also reevaluating the value menus. They brought them back here towards the end of the year to, make them more affordable to where they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to bring those back. Where's the other one? There's another. They're also going to test new drink options. That kind of, you remember when Jim talked about Cosmix, which was it was supposed to be like the trendy like adult McDonald's version where you could go get like lattes and stuff like that. They're going to pull a lot of the drink and beverage stuff off of that Cosmics menu and kind of slowly start sprinkling it into the normal menu. And they're also supposed to expand their chicken lineup with some new wraps and upgraded sandwiches.
Okay. Well, that is exciting. That is very exciting for McDonald's eaters.
So I haven't really been since they changed it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that all you got?
Yeah, that's it.
I got something for you.
Okay.
All right. This is from our buddy James. He sent it to me on Instagram. So I don't know the validity of it, but it's funny. So is Florida man. So
yeah.
Florida man sells his food truck to place a $30,000 bet on
I saw
Miami.
that.
Did you see this? So he sold his food truck for $37,000. And then we even have the bet slip here. He placed a $30,000 wager to win $150,000. So plus 500. Now he needed Miami money line. So Miami had to win outright, not cover the 7.5, which they did. And he needed 48.5 points. He needed the over. So the final was what?
27-21.
So it was the under and he didn't hit on the money line. If Miami would have scored in the final 152 and they got the ball back and then they threw the pick at like 48 seconds, if they would have scored there, he's got the money line, he's got the over. And his $30,000 food truck turns into $150,000. And by the way, that is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. To go sell your business, you're going to go sell your business to bet on the 7.5 point underdog Miami Hurricanes to beat Indiana in the college football national championship. Like, this isn't the moment you've been waiting for all your life. Like, I have it. This is the game. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Do you think that's real?
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
Probably. So and by the way, he said his plan was to retire if he hit the bet. I mean, are you really retiring? You sold your $30,000 food truck. You're going to walk away with $150K. Like,
how old was he?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at this guy. He's in a hurricane shirt. He looks like he's maybe 50. I mean, it seems like it's a little wishful to retire. Maybe he would have taken his $150K and doubled it down on another bet, but that's the most like, first of all, imagine being a Miami fan in general last night. Like, that's a pretty cruel way to lose. Like, they had a chance to win. They had a blocked punt. They had a doing field goal. They had the interception in the final seconds. So it's one thing to be a Miami fan. I'm not sleeping last night if I'm a Miami fan. And I'm really not sleeping if I lost my food truck in $30,000. Because my food truck is my ability to make money. And my $30,000, like, listen, I'm not a big bettor. I'm sure some of our listeners are. Like, I consider losing $100 at a casino losing a lot of money.
Yeah, me too.
Like $100, sure, you want to play blackjack, you want to play craps roulette, whatever. Okay, you can live with it. It's not ideal. I don't love throwing away $100, $200. I don't think most people love throwing away. Take your $100 that you throw away playing blackjack or slots and multiply it by, how much is that? By 300. $30,000 is 300 times $100. So yeah, not a great bet. But imagine being in those shoes, driving, 50 seconds left. Indiana's on its heels. Curt Cignetti takes a timeout. You're 40-ish yards away from winning the game in Miami. Would have been truly storybook, just like it was for Indiana. And then, nope, not so fast. Terrible throw, by the way. Like Carson Beck's throw there, a read and underthrown ball and a terrible read. Not necessary. It wasn't fourth down. The game was not on the line. There were 52 seconds left. You could have lived to see another down. You had plays in front of you. And I don't know how you ever get over that if you're Miami. They have had some cruel losses in national championship games, have they not?
Well, they'll get over it because their fan base doesn't care in general. So
they'll be back to drawing like 13,000 for
half their fan base probably doesn't even know they played in the title game last night.
How sad is it that the game is in Miami and 70% of the fans are Hoosier fans?
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
Like that is truly insane. Truly insane. All right. So again, tomorrow we will be in Phoenix. I'll be in Phoenix, San Diego State, and Grand Canyon tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll have pregame coverage beginning at 7 p.m. I'll be on the air tomorrow on 760 beginning at 2. By the way, busy night in the Mountain West. If you are a Hoops fan, busy night in the Mountain West. We've got Boise State, Wyoming, and UNLV, Utah State. I think 4 games overall. So busy night in the Mountain West, and then again tomorrow for the Aztecs. If you missed anything today, make sure to check out sportsst.com or the iHeartRadio app or iTunes or TuneIn Radio or Spotify. If you're listening to us on podcast, please leave a review as well. And again, we're back tomorrow from Phoenix beginning at 2 p.m. And again, the Aztecs tomorrow night. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away tomorrow as well. All right, for Sammy Long, who was here earlier, and for Brent Sperry, I'm John. And keep it here. This is San Diego Sports 760. Peace.